Jiangbei City. At noon in Qingfeng restaurant. The woman had an oval-shaped face and jet-black hair, scoring 85 points for appearance. She casually sized up Lin Fan, who was sitting opposite her. With the way he was dressed, he looked like he ran a roadside stall. A look of disdain appeared on her face. After a while, the woman said in an arrogant tone, "Let me introduce myself. My name is Kaio Shia. I'm 23 years old this year. I graduated from 211 University and my annual salary is 200,000 yuan." Lin Fan said, "My name's Lin Fan. I'm 23 years old. I'm a high school graduate and my monthly salary is 4,000 yuan." "Oh," Kaio Shia replied casually, and the disdain on her face grew. At the same time, she started to blame her mother for getting someone like him to be her blind date. Even though Lin Fan was slightly handsome, what could his good looks be used for? He was not educated. He needed to have a good job. Lin Fan was not worthy of her. Kaio Shia picked up the glass of fruit juice in front of her and casually drank it. Lin Fan had to admit that Kaio Shia was indeed very pretty. However, Lin Fan could hear her arrogant tone and see her disdainful expression. Lin Fan was not a bootlicker. Even if others looked down on him, he could not be bothered. The two of them sat opposite each other without saying a word. The atmosphere was a little heavy. Ding ding. At that moment, Lin Fan's phone started vibrating. He took out his phone and saw that he had received a strange message. "Ding, you've received 7 billion red packets. Do you want to collect them?" Lin Fan could not help but laugh. 7 billion red packets. Doesn't this mean that almost everyone in the world gave me a red packet? Cell phone advertisements nowadays were too exaggerated. Normally, Lin Fan would have closed the advertisement. However, at that moment, the extremely bored Lin Fan was filled with curiosity. He clicked confirm. To kill time, he wanted to see what kind of content would appear next. Ding ding. The next moment, a dazzling red light appeared on the phone screen. A red packet appeared on the screen. Lin Fan clicked open. Ding, congratulations, you've received 19,999 yuan. Then another red packet appeared on the screen. Lin Fan clicked open again. Ding, congratulations, you've received 99 yuan. Then a new red packet appeared on the screen. Lin Fan couldn't help but wonder, could this be a program that constantly makes red packets appear? If so, then it was a little lame. At the thought of this, Lin Fan wanted to close the app and leave. However, at this moment his phone vibrated slightly. The bank had sent 2 consecutive text notifications. Notice from Merchant Bank, 19,999 yuan was deposited into your account at 12:00 p.m. Notice from Merchant Bank, 99 yuan was deposited into your account at 12:00 p.m. Lin Fan's heart skipped a beat. These 2 sums of money were actually the sums of the 2 red packets that he just received. Wait, was it not an advertisement? The red packets were real. Lin Fan was both excited and confused as he clicked open another red packet. Ding, congratulations, you've received 29,999 yuan. Ding, congratulations, you've received 2,000 yuan. Ding, congratulations, you have obtained professional driving skills. Your unparalleled driving skills give you a unique charm. Ding, congratulations, you have received 5 yuan. Lin Fan kept clicking open on the screen. At the same time, the bank also kept sending text messages to him. He understood now that these were all real red packets. Kaio Shia, who was sitting across from him, saw that Lin Fan had not spoken for a long time and was instead tapping on his phone screen. She could not help but frown. Kaio Shia stretched her neck and glanced at Lin Fan's phone screen. Congratulations, you've received 5 yuan. Seeing this, she was startled. Kaio Shia was both angry and disdainful. After all, she was a highly educated beauty who was also a high earner. This man was not taking the opportunity to chat with her but instead focused on snatching red packets that were only worth a few yuan. Kaio Shia stood up and said coldly, "I'm sure you've realized that we're not suitable for each other. I have something to do later, so I'll be leaving first." Then she got up and prepared to leave. Ding, congratulations, you've received a Lamborghini Aventador. When Lin Fan wanted to continue opening red packets, the time on his phone changed to 12:01 p.m. Then a dialog box popped up on the screen. Prompt: there are still 23 hours and 59 minutes until the next red packet. Note: for every 10,000 yuan you spend, you can immediately receive a red packet. Lin Fan slowly put his phone back into his pocket. At this moment, he found a car key in his pocket. The key to the Lamborghini. When he opened one of the red packets, he had indeed received a Lamborghini. However, how did the car keys get into his pocket? The red packets were all real. Kaiyoshia glanced at Lin Fan, who was still staring at his phone in a daze. She thought that he was still busy claiming red packets that were only worth a few yuan. Her heart was filled with even more disdain. Kaiyoshia did not stay any longer. She swayed her hips and strode outside. At this moment, there were many people standing at the door. They looked at a cool supercar not far away with eyes full of amazement. A Lamborghini. Moreover, it's a Lamborghini Aventador. It costs 10 million yuan in the country. The silver-gray color makes it look so cool. I can't believe there's such a car in Jiangbei. I wonder which god-level tycoon owns it. An internet celebrity in a hot dress even walked in front of the Lamborghini, flirtatiously posing and constantly taking selfies. Kaiyoshia looked at the supercar with envy. When Kaiyoshia saw Lin Fan walk out of the restaurant, her expression immediately became one of extreme annoyance. She had already said that they were not compatible, so why was he still shamelessly following her? I drove here myself, I don't need you to send me back. As she spoke, Kaiyoshia waved the BMW car keys in her hand. She wanted Lin Fan to know the difference between the two of them. She had a BMW, while he could not even afford a car. I didn't say I was going to send you home, Lin Fan said. He then took out the keys to his Lamborghini and pressed it gently. The car's lights lit up and the car horn sounded. Then he strode to the Lamborghini, opened the door and sat in it. Lin Fan rarely drove, and he had never driven a supercar. However, the moment he sat in the Lamborghini, he seemed to be a veteran who had driven for decades. He knew the car like the back of his hand. It was amazing. The female internet celebrity who was standing in front of the car and taking selfies saw Lin Fan enter the car. She exclaimed in her heart, "He's handsome and rich." The internet celebrity leaned over the car window excitedly and said, "Hey, handsome, do you want to go for a meal together?" "I've just eaten," Lin Fan said. "How about we go to the movies together then? There are quite a few good movies showing now," the internet celebrity said again. "I'm sorry, I still have something to do later," Lin Fan said. "Handsome, let's add each other on WeChat," the internet celebrity called out to him again. However, Lin Fan had already rolled up the car window and started the engine. He did not hear what the internet celebrity said. As he stepped on the gas, the Lamborghini shot out like a cannonball. "What?" Kaiyoshia saw everything. She was completely stunned. Lin Fan actually drove away in a supercar. He just had a meal with her, he was on a blind date with her. However, she actually rejected him. If she were to marry Lin Fan, I won't have to work hard anymore. How regretful. Endless regret filled her heart. Kaiyoshia only felt a burst of pain in her chest. Ring, ring, ring. At this moment, the phone in Kaioshia's pocket rang with a brisk ringtone. "Shia, how did it go? Did you meet Lin Fan?" Her mother Chen Minfan's low voice came from the phone. "Yeah, I met with him," Kaiyoshia said a little woodenly. "He's not by your side now, is he? Is it convenient for you to talk?" Chen Minfan asked. "He's not here," Kaiyoshia said. "What do you think of Lin Fan? If you don't like him, you don't have to force it, just deal with it casually. You have my support. After all, his family background is just too ordinary," Chen Minfan said. "His family situation is just so-so." Kaiyoshia was slightly taken.
Kaiyoshia was stunned. Is his family average? After a pause, he seemed to have thought of something and asked, "What do his parents do?" "We used to work together. At that time we had a good relationship. Now I heard that you opened a small clothing store," Chen Minfin said. Kaiyoshia said, "Okay mom, I understand." After saying that, he hung up. Shia looked at the Lamborghini, which had completely disappeared from her sight, and a look of understanding appeared on her face. He said disdainfully, "You think you can succeed by renting a car and going on blind dates? What a joke, poor people will always be poor." Then she looked at the internet celebrity not far away and said, "It's quite suitable for a B*TCH to be paired with a B** starred." After saying that, he walked towards the BMW with a smile. Lin Fan drove the Lamborghini all the way. He was like a dazzling laser light. Wherever he went, he was the center of attention. This was a street explosion. A moment later, Lin Fan arrived at a public parking lot. He flipped out of the car and wrote his name on the driver's license and registration certificate. Puzzled, he asked, could this be the legendary cheat code, a system? Just then, a virtual button appeared in front of Lin Fan. Lin Fan pointed casually. Ding, successfully activated system. Newbie gift bag obtained. Then a virtual display appeared in his mind. Name Lin Fan. Level 1. Level 1 reward, 1 yuan for every breath, 1 yuan for every second of sleep, 1 yuan for every step. Reward of 24 points per day. Upgrade consumption, 0.10000. Gifts to others, gambling, and other methods are not included. In addition, all items obtained from the system are prohibited from trading. Charm, 85, appearance, clothing, mental state, etc. are closely related. Skills, professional driving technique. Funds, 89,900. All funds come from reasonable and legal sources, no need to worry about direct use. Hint, there are still 23 hours and 35 minutes until the next red packet. Prompt, for every 10,000 yuan spent, you can immediately obtain a red packet. Lin Fan said, there really is a system. Professional driving skills, no wonder driving this Lamborghini feels so simple. Then Lin Fan started studying the system again. For every breath he took, he would get 1 yuan. A normal person would get about 28,000 yuan every minute by breathing about 20 times, which was 24 hours a day. 1 yuan for every second of sleep. Based on 8 hours of sleep a day, you can get about 28,000 yuan. For every step he took, he would get 1 yuan. This was not fixed. Sometimes it was hundreds, sometimes it was thousands. As for the red packet, the amount depended on luck. In total, he could get 60,000 to 70,000 yuan a day, about 2 million yuan a month and 24 million yuan a year. In addition, this was only level 1. If he upgraded to level 2 or even higher, he would probably get more money. At the thought of this, Lin Fan's lips curled up. Then he looked at the beginner's gift bag. Do you want to open the beginner's gift bag?
Yes.
Ding, congratulations, you have obtained a charm halo, increasing your charm by 5 points. In addition, there is a 50% chance of triggering love at first sight and unforgettable love. Powerful charm is the most attractive. Ding, congratulations, you have obtained a 10x cashback card. Only by spending better can you gain more. Lin Fan felt his body warming up slightly, but nothing much had changed. He looked at his white pants and stepped on the accelerator. He went straight to KM Mall. KM Mall, the most high-end clothing shopping mall in Jiangbei City. Welcome KM Mall, how can I help you? Although Lin Fan's clothes were ordinary. However, the well-proportioned female salesperson who was standing at the door welcomed him immediately. From this point alone, it was not without reason that KM Mall could stand tall in Jiangbei for so many years. At least the quality of the salespeople was much better than ordinary shops. Lin Fan said, help me find something suitable for me. This set of clothes is the latest this year. Its design cutting edge and is very comfortable. Clothes make the man, Buddha makes the gold. This saying was not wrong at all. After changing into KM's clothes, Lin Fan's charm increased by 2 points, reaching 92 points. Lin Fan stretched his limbs and said, all right, this one then, how much is it? A total of 48,889 yuan, the saleswoman said with a smile. When Lin Fan heard that, he frowned. When the saleswoman saw this, she sighed inwardly. As expected, it was another person who felt that KM was too expensive. At this moment, Lin Fan muttered, only 40,000, Forget it, I'll swipe my card first. Only 40,000. He actually didn't find it too expensive but felt that it was too cheap. The saleswoman took the bank card in shock and gently swiped it on the POS machine. Ding, the current expenditure is 48,889 yuan. Do you want to use the 10x cashier card? Yes, Lin Fan replied in his heart. Ding, system upgraded level 2. Level 2 reward, 2 yuan for every breath, 2 yuan for every second of sleep, 2 yuan for every step, 24 yuan per day. Upgrade consumption, 38,889/100,000 gifts to others and gambling are not included. In addition, all items obtained from the system are prohibited from trading. Originally, he could obtain at least 60,000 to 70,000 yuan a day. Now, it had doubled to more than 100,000 yuan. Then Lin Fan's phone vibrated. The merchant's bank reminds you to deposit 488,890 yuan. At the same time, a red packet appeared on his phone screen. Ding, 40,000 yuan spent. You have received 4 red packets. Do you want to receive them all?
Yes.
Ding, congratulations, you have received $19,999. Ding, congratulations, you have received $2. Ding, congratulations, you have received 300 yuan. Ding, congratulations, you have received $2,999.
Seeing this,
Lin Fan smirked. The female salesperson beside him respectfully handed over her bank card and said, "Sir, your card. 2 pieces over there and 1 set over there, wrap them up according to my size." Lin Fan casually pointed at nearly 10 pieces of clothing. The saleswoman understood that she had definitely met a super rich man. Hence she hurriedly wrapped up all her clothes. A total of 232,100 yuan. I can apply to the store manager to help you get rid of the remaining 2,100 yuan. Please wait a moment, the female salesperson said. Lin Fan said, take that change as a tip. To Lin Fan, money was just a number. This waiter had a good attitude. Although the clothes he chose were a little cheap, they were indeed very comfortable. Therefore, giving her a little reward was nothing. The saleswoman said happily, "Thank you, sir." He swiped his card again. A notification rang out in Lin Fan's mind. Ding, system upgrade level 3. Level 3 reward, 5 yuan for every breath, 5 yuan for every second of sleep, and 5 yuan for every step taken. Rewards are distributed at 12 a.m. daily. Upgrade cost 270,000 1 million, not including gifts and gambling. In addition, all items obtained from the system are prohibited from being traded. This time, the system upgrade benefits were 5 times more than when he was at level 1. In other words, Lin Fan could earn a minimum of 300,000 to 400,000 a day. At the same time, a red packet appeared on Lin Fan's phone screen. Ding, you have spent 230,000 yuan and received 23 red packets. Do you want to collect all of them?
yes.
Ding, congratulations, you've received 200 yuan. Ding, congratulations, you've received 18,888 yuan. Ding, congratulations, you've obtained the skill Violence Aesthetics. It can significantly enhance one's physique, reaction, agility, fighting skills, and so on. One will have the combat power to fight against 100 opponents alone. One would be powerful and violent, fully displaying one's manliness. Even when fighting, one will still look pleasing to the eye. Ding, congratulations, you've obtained the skill Drinking Gentleman. When drinking, one won't fall even after 1,000 glasses. One will be gentlemanly, refined, and know all information about alcohol. Even when one is drinking, one will have endless charm. Ding, congratulations, you've received 3,333 yuan. He received a total of 192,335 yuan from the 23 red packets. Lin Fan was no longer interested in money. He set his eyes on the skills of Violence Aesthetics and Drinking Gentleman. 1 against 100. 1,000 glasses. Lin Fan felt his entire body brimming with energy. He drove back to his rented apartment in a good mood. That night, in the wee hours of the morning, Lin Fan's phone rang with a message notification. Notice from Merchant Bank. 213,500 yuan was deposited into your account at 12:00 a.m. The next day at 12:00 p.m., a red packet popped up on Lin Fan's phone again. Ding, congratulations, you've received 19 yuan. Ding, congratulations, you've received 2,999 yuan.
Eh?
Ding, congratulations, you've received 19,999 yuan. Ding, congratulations, you've received the Vacherin Constantin Tour de L'Isle watch. Ding, congratulations, you've received one building in Washington Palace. When Lin Fan opened the last red packet, he was slightly stunned. Washington Palace. Was that not the best and most expensive neighborhood in the school district of Jiangbei? Apparently, the price there is 50,000 yuan per square meter. One building. It was during this moment of days that the time unknowingly changed to 12:01 p.m. The red packets disappeared. Lin Fan raised his head slowly with suspicion in his heart. When he raised his head, he was stunned again. That was because there was a huge pile of property ownership certificates and two large strings of keys in front of him. Lin Fan opened the first property ownership certificate. On it was written Building A 101, area of 103 square meters, property owner Lin Fan. Then he opened the second certificate, Building A 102, area of 104 square meters, property owner Lin Fan. He quickly opened the third certificate, Building A 103, area of 89 square meters, property owner Lin Fan.
Eh?
There were a total of 33 floors in the building, and there were 4 units on each floor. There were a total of 132 units, and all of them belonged to Lin Fan. The total value of these houses had reached hundreds of millions. Lin Fan could not help but put his hand in his pocket. He wanted to take out a cigarette, but he accidentally took out the fashionably designed Vacherin Constantin Tour de L'Isle watch. He looked at the Vacherin Constantin Tour de L'Isle in his hand, then at the property ownership certificate in front of him. The corners of his mouth curled up slightly. Then Lin Fan found a bag and put all the property ownership certificates and keys in it. After doing that, he strode downstairs. At this moment, the landlady Wang Sicken happened to be downstairs. She was holding her phone and seemed to be about to make a call. When she saw Lin Fan, she smiled and said, "Lil Lin, don't you have to work today?" As she spoke, Wang Sicken could not help but secretly size up Lin Fan. She did not know why, but she felt that Lin Fan looked a little different today. Especially the clothes that Lin Fan was wearing, she seemed to have seen them somewhere before. "Yeah, I don't have to," Lin Fan replied calmly. He really hated this landlord. Not only did she like to charge more for the water and electricity bills, but she would also often cut off the water and power. Before Lin Fan obtained the system, he had already made plans to move out once his contract expired. If it was not for the fact that he had some of his personal belongings in the rental house, he would have left long ago. Last night, Lin Fan was prepared not to come back. Seeing that Lin Fan was about to leave, Wang Sicken no longer cared about what was different about him. She hurriedly said, "It's great that you don't have to work today. The toilet in my house is clogged and I can't clear it no matter what. Can you help me clear it?" From her tone, it did not seem to be a request but an order. "I don't know how to do it," Lin Fan's brows furrowed. After he finished speaking, he walked forward. Wang Sicken did not expect Lin Fan to reject her just like that, and was slightly taken aback. Then a ball of anger rose in her heart. She grabbed Lin Fan's arm and said, "What do you mean you don't know how to? Don't you people who never went to college all do this kind of thing?" "Let go." Lin Fan's face darkened. However, Wang Sicken did not let go at all. Lin Fan's face turned cold as he flung her arm away.
Ugh.
The movement was too big, and he accidentally dropped the property ownership certificates and keys in his bag. Wang Sicken said disdainfully, "You haven't even gone to college, yet you're trying to be a real estate agent. Can you even do a good job at introducing the houses?" Wang Sicken did not think that these houses belonged to Lin Fan at all. How could a poor loser who had to ask all sorts of questions because of the extra tens of yuan in water and electricity charges have so many houses? How is that possible? The only answer was that Lin Fan worked in a real estate agency, and these property ownership certificates and keys belonged to the agency. Lin Fan could not be bothered to talk to Wang Sikin. After picking up the property ownership certificates and keys, he strode toward the Lamborghini that was parked in front. He opened the car door and got in. Then he stepped on the accelerator and sped forward. At that moment, Lee Jae-hoo dragged his fat body down the stairs and complained, "Mom, when will the people who are supposed to clear the toilet arrive? I'm about to die from the smell." The next moment, Lee Jae-hoo's eyes widened as he shouted excitedly, "F***CK, that Lamborghini is awesome. There's actually someone in our neighborhood who drives a Lamborghini. That's too awesome." As he spoke, Lee Jae-hoo quickly took out his phone and took a few photos of the Lamborghini that was about to disappear from his sight. Seeing how excited Lee Jae-hoo was, Wang Sikin said, "Jae-hoo, do you like that car? When you find a job, I'll buy you one." In her eyes, if Lin Fan could afford to drive that car, it definitely would not be all that great. "Are you gonna buy that car?" Lee Jae-hoo asked. "Mom, do you know how much it costs?" "How much can a car cost? 200,000, Wang Sikin said. A few years ago, the house that belonged to Wang Sikin's family was demolished. From there they got paid nearly $1 million. Wang Sikin would not feel too much heartache even if she were to out 200,000 yuan for her son. 200,000? It wouldn't be enough even if you had 10 times that amount. That was a Lamborghini, a super sports car. It costs almost 10 million in the country, Lee Jae-hoo said. "What?" Wang Sikin shouted, her mouth forming an O. 10 million. Even if she were to sell herself, she would not be able to get that much money. At this moment, Wang Sikin suddenly remembered why Lin Fan's clothes looked so familiar. A few days ago, Lee Jae-hoo really liked that set of clothes when he was shopping at KM Mall. However, Wang Sikin saw that the set of clothes cost tens of thousands of dollars, so she dragged Lee Jae-hoo out. Immediately after, Wang Sikin thought of the property ownership certificates and keys that Lin Fan had dropped on the floor. A terrifying thought suddenly appeared in her mind. Could it be that all those houses were his? At this thought, Wang Sikin could not help but gasp.
Eh?
At that moment, Lin Fan had already arrived at Washington Palace. He took out the keys to open a few houses and found that all the houses were well decorated and fully equipped with household appliances. One could move in directly with one's bags. Then Lin Fan took the bag and went to a housing agency nearby. "Hello, how may I help you?" the salesperson with black-rimmed glasses said. Lin Fan said, "I have a place in Washington Palace and I want you guys to help me rent it out. By the way, is your manager here? I think it's best to let your manager handle this. I've always been in charge of the rental and sale of the houses in Washington Palace. Just give me the information about the house and I'll definitely help you rent it out at the highest price and in the shortest time possible," the salesperson said with a smile. It seemed that the salesperson thought that Lin Fan's place referred to a normal house instead of the entire building. Therefore, his tone was extremely relaxed and indifferent. "All right then," Lin Fan nodded. Then Lin Fan took out the property ownership certificates and keys from his pocket. When the salesperson saw it, he immediately opened his mouth wide and froze in place. After a while, he said in a daze, "You, please have some tea first. You can sit here for a while. I'll get the manager to come serve you." Soon, a woman in a business suit walked out quickly. Lin Fan sized up the woman from top to bottom. Her facial features were exquisite, her skin was fair, and her figure was full and round. Her white shirt was about to burst open and her straight long legs were wrapped in loose trousers. She looked mature and capable, making people restless at the sight of her. She would score about 94 points. "Hello, I'm the manager of Dongcheng District, Han Tian. This is my business card. May I know your name, sir?" Han Tian handed over her business card and said. At the same time, Han Tian was also secretly sizing up Lin Fan. He had well-defined facial features, a height of 1.8 meters, and was wearing a new set of brand-name clothes. He also exuded a special aura. He was simply a heartthrob. Only one word popped up in her mind: handsome. Washington Palace was the best housing area in the school district in Jiangbei. it had always been priceless. As the manager of Dongcheng District, Han Tian was very clear that Building A was owned by a mysterious person. She had spent a lot of effort trying to find out more about this mysterious person, but to no avail. Han Tian thought of a possibility. Perhaps this mysterious person had committed a crime and had already been caught or escaped abroad. It was not that unlikely for such things to happen. However, Han Tian did not expect the other party to be such a young man. Moreover, he was a tall and handsome young man. Han Tian seemed to feel that she had been staring at Lin Fan for too long and thought she was being a little rude. She blushed. "You can call me Mr. Lin," Lin Fan said. "Mr. Lin heard that you wish to rent out your place in Washington Palace." Hearing Lin Fan's voice, Han Tian could not help but force herself to calm down. Her pretty face took on a professional expression again. "Yes, I do," Lin Fan said casually as he sipped his tea. Han Tian smiled and said, "You made the right choice by coming to Lianjia. We're the largest sales and rental platform in the country. We can definitely rent your place out at the highest price in the shortest time possible. In addition, you own a whole building, so you're a big client of ours. Lianjia has a policy that values big clients, so we'll definitely provide you with the most favorable and convenient services." Lin Fan nodded his head indifferently. "All right, then I'll leave my building to you." Han Tian was stunned. She did not expect Lin Fan to agree to it so easily. He did not even specify the price or ask about the commission rate. Why did he trust her so much? Han Tian's professional face blushed again as she whispered, "Thank you for your trust, Mr. Lin." Very quickly, the contract, which was still warm, was placed in front of Lin Fan.
Eh?
Xia dragged her tired body into Lianjia. "Do you have any houses in Washington Palace for rent?" Xia asked expectantly. Only by renting a house in Washington Palace would her brother be able to study at Jiangbei First Middle School. However, how could it be so easy to rent a place in Washington Palace? Today, Xia went to almost 10 agencies. She was drenched in sweat, but she had yet to yield results.
Click.
At that moment, Lin Fan had just finished signing the contract and walked out of the meeting room. When Xia saw him, she could not help but recall what happened yesterday. She scorned him and thought, "Don't you drive a Lamborghini? Why are you working as a real estate agent? The cost of renting a Lamborghini is probably 1 or 2 months of your salary. Poor loser." The salesperson smiled at Xia and said, "You're really lucky. This gentleman has just handed over an entire building under his name in Washington Palace to Lianjia for us to rent out. Now, Lianjia has a large number of units for you to choose from." Silence. Everyone from Lianjia was so quiet that one could hear a pin drop. Xia's mouth was half open, and she was completely stunned. What did she just hear? Lin Fan entrusted an entire building in Washington Palace to Lianjia to rent out. He owned an entire building. And it was in Washington Palace. The average price of a house in Washington Palace was 50,000 yuan per square meter. A house would cost about 5 million yuan. How much would an entire building cost? Immediately after, Xia once again thought of the great Lamborghini that Lin Fan had driven yesterday. It turned out that he was really a rich man, a super rich man. However, she actually rejected him yesterday. If she got together with him, she would not even have the need to break a single sweat today. The realization hurt. Xia felt an endless ache in her chest. Lin Fan glanced at Xia indifferently before walking out. He did not have a good impression of this woman who looked down on others. Xia hurriedly called out, "Lin Fan, I mean Mr. Lin." However, his tall back was the only response she received. "Miss, do you still wish to rent a house in Washington Palace?" Han Tian asked. "Yeah, I want to rent a house," Xia said. At this moment she came back to her senses. No matter what, she had to rent a house today. Unit 104 in Building A is the only place available for rent, Han Tian said. The rent is 30,000 a month. Earlier, Han Tian had seen all the changes in Lin Fan's expression. She knew that Lin Fan hated the woman in front of her. Lin Fan was a big client of hers. He was a very handsome client who trusted her. Lin Fan hated the woman in front of her, so she naturally had to teach her a lesson. 30,000? How could it be so expensive? There's another luxury neighborhood not far from here and the rental is only 3,000 a month, Kaioshiya exclaimed. Also, just now your salesperson said that there are many units to choose from. Why is it that you only have unit 104 left? He's not the only salesperson in our agency. How much could he possibly know? Han Tian said unhurriedly. Many of the units have already been booked by other clients. And since you said the rental in the other luxury neighborhood nearby is cheap, you can go and rent there. After she finished speaking, she turned around and left. You're being unreasonable. Kaioshiya was furious. At this moment the phone in her pocket rang. Shia, you have to help your brother rent a house in Washington Palace. If this drags on, he won't be able to graduate from Jiangbei First Middle School. Chen Minfin's anxious voice was heard from the other end of the phone. Mom, I've found a house, Kaioshiya said hesitantly. Really? All right, then hurry up and rent it. Don't let others snatch it away, Chen Minfin shouted excitedly. But the price of the house. What's the price? We have to rent it no matter how expensive it is. What's more important than your brother's school? Chen Minfin shouted. All right, I'll rent it now, Kaioshiya sighed. Mom, you said yesterday that Lin Fan comes from an average family. Yeah, they just run a small clothing store. What's wrong? Chen Minfin said. Nothing, Kaioshiya sighed. She thought to herself, a small clothing store, they're probably keeping a low profile. In reality, they must be running a large fashion company. After hanging up, Kaioshiya had no choice but to walk forward again. She gritted her teeth and said, I'll rent unit 104.
Eh?
After Lin Fan had lunch at Hilton Hotel, he went to the presidential suite to take a nap. Now that he had taken out all his personal belongings from his rented apartment, he naturally would not return there. Lin Fan closed his eyes and slowly entered dreamland. When he opened his eyes, it was already 5 in the afternoon. Lin Fan casually scrolled through his phone and realized that his high school group chat, which had been silent for a long time, was very active today. It turned out that they would be holding a class reunion at Finglai Hotel in Jiangbei at 7 o'clock tonight. Everyone who was free would be there. Lin Fan could not help but think back to his high school days. He remembered the laughter and the faces of his few good friends. At the same time, he thought that since he had nothing to do that night, he would attend the class reunion. Lin Fan felt that it would be peak hours on the streets. There would definitely be a lot of cars on the road and it would be very congested. Therefore, he left Hilton Hotel earlier. Just as Lin Fan had expected, there were many cars on the road. However, he did not count the fact that he was driving a Lamborghini, so the cars around him would take the initiative to distance themselves from him. Coupled with Lin Fan's professional driving skills, he was unimpeded the entire way. At 6:40 p.m., Lin Fan arrived at room 666 of Finglai Hotel. Lin Fan, a round-faced man said with uncertainty. Shen Liang, you've really changed a lot, Lin Fan chuckled and nodded. In high school, Shen Liang was tall and thin. He was nicknamed Bamboo. Now he was wrapped up with meat. Time was really like a butcher's knife. So it really is you. I haven't seen you for a few years and you've become more and more handsome. I almost couldn't recognize you, Shen Liang said. The young man named Wang Heiyaki said, Lin Fan, this is the first time we've seen each other since graduation, right? I heard that you started working after graduating from high school. What's your monthly salary? A few thousand, Lin Fan said casually. A few thousand? You'll have to eat more later. After all, the meal we're having today is probably worth a month's worth of your salary. Wang Heiyaki laughed at him with a look of disdain on his face. So what if Lin Fan was handsome? He was only earning a few $1,000 a month. Lin Fan furrowed his brows. How could he not hear the mockery in Wang Heiyaki's words? However, today was the class reunion after all. It was not appropriate to make things look bad. Therefore, Lin Fan did not say much. Yang Wenshu, who was dressed in famous brands, walked in with a middle-aged man with a big beer belly. When the crowd saw her, they all started to greet her. Whoa, isn't she Yang Wenshu, the beautiful girl from our class? I haven't seen you for a few years, you've become younger and more beautiful. Beauty Yang, aren't you going to introduce us to the person next to you?
Eh?
Yang Wenshu was so pleased to hear her classmates' praises that she laughed until her body trembled. Powdery wisps from the foundation on her face descended and landed on the table. Thank you for your compliments, this is my husband Dulei, Yang Wenshu said. Lin Fan also looked at Yang Wenshu and her husband. Lin Fan heaved a sigh of relief. Back in high school, a few girls in his class had expressed their love for him. Yang Wenshu was the most direct and boldest one. However, Lin Fan's focus back then was on his studies, hence he rejected Yang Wenshu and the other girls. Looking at Yang Wenshu now, Lin Fan could not help but feel glad that he had made the decision.
Click click.
At this moment, Qin Yuxuan, with her fair skin and jet black hair that hung down naturally like a waterfall, walked in slowly. Qin Yuxuan was dressed in a casual outfit, but her delicate features and perfect figure made her look extraordinary. With her arrival, it was as if the entire private room had lit up. Even Lin Fan's eyes lit up. Qin Yuxuan, I didn't expect that a top student like you would come. What a rare day. By the way, weren't there rumors in high school that Qin Yuxuan and Yang Wenshu were interested in Lin Fan? What's their situation now? What's the situation? Yang Wenshu is married to that big shot. I heard that Qin Yuxuan is studying in Madu City. Yang Wenshu is a rich madam while Qin Yuxuan remains to be a goddess. Lin Fan entered society after graduating from high school. Now he only earns a few thousand yuan a month. He's a pauper. What kind of situation are you expecting? When the students said this, they subconsciously looked at Lin Fan with mocking eyes. At the same time, they secretly distanced themselves from Lin Fan. It was as if being too close to Lin Fan was a loss of status. Qin Yuxuan was the only exception. After entering the private room, Qin Yuxuan's beautiful eyes quickly scanned the room. When she caught sight of Lin Fan, she paused for another 2 seconds, causing their eyes to meet. The two of them looked at each other and smiled. At this moment, silence was better than words. Soon, exquisite dishes were served and filled up the large table. There were fragrant beef ribs, steamed fish, grilled pork, and many others. I think there'll only be the few us today. It's a rare occasion for us high school classmates to get together. I suggest that we all raise our glasses to make a toast.
Cheers. Cheers.
The lively class reunion began. It had not been long since everyone tucked in when Hu Jinsong, who was wearing a checkered shirt, walked in. He first placed the car keys to his BMW on the table. I'm sorry, my old classmates, I'm late, the traffic was too heavy, he cupped his fists. I'll punish myself by drinking a glass of wine. After Hu Jinsong finished speaking, he immediately poured himself a glass of wine and poured it down his stomach. Hu Jinsong, not bad, you've already bought a BMW, Wang Hao asked curiously. It's just a BMW 5 Series, it's nothing, Hu Jinsong casually waved his hand. That's still a luxury car, Wang Hao exclaimed. Nah, that's not considered a luxury car. Hu Jinsong waved his hands frantically and said, you don't know what kind of car was parked next to me, that Lamborghini Aventador is so awesome. F*CK, a Lamborghini Aventador, we have this car in Jiangbai, Shen Liang was shocked. Yeah, I didn't expect it either, Hu Jinsong nodded. A Lamborghini Aventador would cost almost 10 million yuan here, I wonder which godly tycoon it belongs to. My BMW only has 252 horsepower. The Lamborghini has a V12 engine with 700 horsepower and an acceleration of 2.8 seconds for 100 kilometers per hour. It'll definitely feel like you're flying. The more Hu Jinsong spoke, the more excited he became, and his entire body began to shake. Following that, Hu Jinsong's eyes swept across the room. When he saw Qin Yuxuan, who was like a fairy, his eyes lit up. Beauty Qin, I didn't expect you to attend the class reunion today. I haven't seen you for a few years and you've become more and more beautiful. However, Qin Yuxuan only smiled politely and did not say anything more to him. Hu Jinsong could not help but feel a little embarrassed. Then he turned to look at Yang Wenshu, who had heavy makeup on, and her husband. Beauty Yang, President Du, I didn't expect you two to be here. Today is a good occasion. I'll give you a toast. Hu Jinsong raised his wine glass and called out. Hu Jinsong, you know Yang Wenshu's husband? Asked Wang Heiyaki. Of course, President Du is a famous big shot. It's all thanks to President Du that I could get my BMW 5 Series. Do you know what kind of car President Du is driving? A Porsche Cayenne, Hu Jinsong said. Amazing, he's actually driving a Porsche. That's a super luxury car, Wang Heiyaki exclaimed. It's just a Porsche, it's not as good as that Lamborghini, Dulé, who had a beer belly, said with a smile. Rich people nowadays aren't interested in cars much, they're more interested in watches instead. As Dulé spoke, he revealed the gold-colored Rolex on his wrist. Rolex, Hu Jinsong exclaimed, you even have a Rolex. Yes, the poor are interested in cars and the rich are interested in watches. President Du, you're indeed worthy of your reputation. A Rolex, furthermore, it's golden in color. It's obvious that it's expensive, someone said in a low voice. Dulé said proudly, it's not that expensive, it's just an ordinary Rolex, hee. Hu Jinsong gave him a thumbs up. President Du is rich and Yang Wenshu is beautiful. You two are a perfect match, a match made in heaven. Speaking of which, there used to be a guy called Lin Fan in our class. He used his pretty face to pester Yang Wenshu. Luckily, Yang Wenshu didn't accept his confession. In order to please Yang Wenshu and Dulé, Hu Jinsong twisted Yang Wenshu's failure in pursuing Lin Fan romantically into Lin Fan's persistent pursuit of Yang Wenshu. He was really good at twisting the truth. Of course I didn't accept him, Yang Wenshu said. What's the use of a pretty boy? I was destined to marry Dulé. As she spoke, Yang Wenshu waved the Gucci bag in her hand and threw Lin Fan a disdainful look. It was as if she was saying, Lin Fan, didn't you reject me back then? Now, in my eyes, you're just a poor loser. Since they kept picking on him, Lin Fan decided to stop caring about their relationship as classmates. Otherwise, others would think that he was a pushover. Lin Fan touched his chin and recalled. I was the one who pursued Yang Wenshu. Is that why she took the initiative to show me a certain part of her body? Oh, I think there are 3 moles on that part. After hearing this, Dulé's expression transformed into a twisted one. 3 moles. It was Yang Wenshu's most private part. Yang Wenshu actually took the initiative to show it to Lin Fan. Back then, Dulé married Yang Wenshu because she was innocent and adorable. Now it seemed that she was not innocent at all. She was simply a whore. Honey, don't listen to his nonsense, Yang Wenshu quickly said. HMPH, Dulé only gave a muffled groan and ignored her. At this moment, Hu Jinsong seemed to have just noticed Lin Fan's arrival. He said, Lin Fan, you're here too. Yang Wenshu was the most beautiful girl in our class. It's not a big deal that you liked her. Who in our class didn't like her? We're just talking about some trivial matters that took place in high school. You don't have to be angry over this, right? He was obviously trying to say that Lin Fan was making up nonsense and being petty. Then I'll talk about the trivial things that happened in high school, Lin Fan said. Everyone, do you still remember the school's dormitory manager, Auntie Wang? When Hu Jinsong was in his 2nd year of high school, he got together with her for quite a long time. By the way, are you two still together?
Whoosh.
As soon as these words came out, everyone's eyes fell on Hu Jinsong with incomparable shock. The dormitory manager, Auntie Wang, was almost 40 years old. She was short and fat, and it was said that she had never been in love. In fact, in private, many people called her an old virgin. Hu Jinsong and a woman like that were together for a period of time. Did he have such weird preferences? At this moment, one of Hu Jinsong's high school dormitory mates suddenly recalled that he used to play games with Hu Jinsong in an internet cafe until midnight. Despite it being past curfew, Hu Jinsong would bring him along and swagger into the dormitory. At that time, he was glad that the dormitory manager, Auntie Wang, had forgotten to close the door. From the looks of it now, it was not that Auntie Wang had forgotten to close the door but that she had deliberately left the door open for Hu Jinsong. Hu Jinsong's face flushed red as he shouted, Lin Fan, you're talking nonsense. When the crowd saw his expression, they immediately understood. All of this was probably true. At this moment, the atmosphere in the private room was tense. Someone stood up and tried to smooth things over. It hasn't been easy for us to meet up. Come, let's have a drink. Yes, yes, let's have a drink. Thus everyone stood up, raised their glasses and drank to their heart's content. The atmosphere in the private room eased a little after drinking. The people there began to chat with each other, and they occasionally laughed. It had to be said that Hu Jinsong did indeed have good communication skills. Soon he became the focus of the room. Hu Jinsong shot a glance at Lin Fan, who was sitting in a corner without saying a word. Lin Fan, why aren't you saying anything? He asked. Hu Jinsong's tone was extremely relaxed and indifferent. It was as if he had already forgotten that Lin Fan had exposed his scandal with Auntie Wang in public. After a pause, he continued, "Oh, right, Lin Fan, when you finished high school you went straight to work. You must have earned quite a bit, right? What kind of car did you buy?" Lin Fan's salary is only a few thousand yuan. Why would he buy a car? I don't think he's even able to take care of himself, Wang Heiyuki sneered. In high school, Lin Fan was tall and handsome. Furthermore, he was especially good at his studies. He could be said to be an influential person in his class. As a result, many girls in the class were in love with him. Wang Heiyuki was very jealous of this. Now that he saw Lin Fan in such a bad state, he took the opportunity to mock him. He felt like a nobleman stepping on a beggar. What, his salary is only a few thousand yuan, Hu Jinsong said, feigning surprise. Lin Fan did not care about any of this. How childish. In his opinion, all of this was too childish. However, even if he ignored them, it did not mean that they would let him off. Huh, Hu Jinsong was surprised. Lin Fan, you're wearing a watch too, it looks pretty good, come and let us admire it. Lin Fan said calmly, it's just a watch, there's nothing to admire. Don't say that, we're all classmates here, we're just finding a topic to talk about. Don't worry, we won't break it. Even if I break it, I promise to give you a new one, Hu Jinsong said. Yeah, we're just going to be looking at it, Wang Heiyuki said. Shen Liang seemed to be curious and advised, Lin Fan, why don't you show it to everyone? Lin Fan's impression of Shen Liang was not bad. Seeing that he chimed in, Lin Fan placed the Vacherin Constantin Tour de l'Isle on the table. Hu Jinsong tossed it back and forth between his two hands a few times before saying, it has some weight. What brand is this? Wang Heiyuki asked. It looks all right. My friend Kaio Bo is a watch expert, just send it to him and he'll know. Hu Jinsong did not even bother to ask Lin Fan for his permission. He immediately took a photo of it and sent it to his friend. He wanted to show off his strong connections and mock Lin Fan. Unfortunately, Kaio Bo did not reply immediately. Let's wait for a while, Hu Jinsong said. He might be busy. When Shen Liang first saw the Vacherin Constantin Tour de l'Isle, he was stunned and could not help but ask, Lin Fan, how much did you buy this watch for? I didn't spend any money, Lin Fan said. He was not spouting nonsense. This was because he had gotten the watch from a red packet. You didn't spend any money? Lin Fan, don't tell me that this watch is a free gift from when you bought something, Wang Heiyuki laughed. So, it's a gift? Hu Jinsong asked. Lin Fan, you should have said so earlier. I shouldn't have taken a photo of it and sent it to my friend. Usually those free gifts are high-quality imitations or counterfeits. My friend hates fake goods the most. When he sees the photo later, he'll be furious. After Hu Jinsong finished speaking, he directly threw the watch onto the table. He looked as if he would dirty his hands if he held the watch any longer. Following that, Hu Jinsong used a lecturing tone and said, Lin Fan, I don't mean to criticize, but we're all old classmates here. There's no point in putting on a show by using a watch. Just ask our classmates who would use counterfeit goods to act. In fact, some of the people present had bought counterfeit goods in private. However, they would never admit it. They had to keep their dignity. If they admitted it, would they not be revealing the fact that they were not doing well and could only afford fake goods? Therefore, everyone there shook their heads. The quality of counterfeit goods is much worse than the real ones. I never use fake goods. If you don't have enough money, just buy something slightly inferior. Why buy counterfeit goods? Yang Wenshu waved her Gucci bag and said, those who use fake goods are all poor losers. my husband never buys fake goods for me. Yang Wenshu hugged Du Lei's arm and rubbed it up and down. Feeling the softness on his arm, Du Lei's anger gradually dissipated.
They,
Lin Fan listened to everyone's words. They were like countless flies buzzing around. He was finally a little angry and shouted, "As long as I like it, it's none of your business." As soon as he finished speaking, he took the Vacherin Constantin Tour de l'Isle back and put it on his wrist again. Instantly, the expressions of everyone in the private room darkened even more. Lin Fan had just scolded them. Shen Liang thought that if he had not asked Lin Fan to take off his watch, this would not have happened. "Everyone's almost done eating," he said. "Let's go to the karaoke shop to sing some songs." "All right, let's go. Let's go." All the students agreed. "I won't be going," Lin Fan said. The main reason why Lin Fan was attending this class reunion was that he wanted to meet a few of his good friends from high school. Unfortunately, they did not come. Lin Fan was already giving face to his classmates by staying long enough for this meal. Naturally, he would not follow them to sing. "I have something to do later," Qin Yuxuan said as well. "I won't be going to sing with you all. Have a good time." Many people were happy to know that Lin Fan was not joining them. However, the beauty Qin Yuxuan was not going as well. They were sad to hear this. Therefore, many people tried to stop her. In response, Qin Yuxuan rejected all of them, saying that she had something to do at home. "Do you need me to send you back?" Lin Fan asked casually. "Then I'll have to thank you for going through the trouble," Qin Yuxuan said with a smile. Lin Fan was stunned. In fact, he had only asked casually. He did not expect Qin Yuxuan to really agree. However, since he had already asked her, he could not go back on his words, right? Thus, the two of them walked to the parking lot together. This scene was seen by all. Is there something going on between the two of them?
they,
How could Qin Yuxuan be interested in him? They're heading to the parking lot. Lin Fan doesn't have a car, right? A taxi just entered the parking lot. He's probably taking that, right? Wang Heiyuki said. As soon as he said that, all the students' faces were filled with disdain. In their opinion, one should use a luxury car to send a beauty like Qin Yuxuan home. A taxi, it was simply embarrassing. "My husband drives me home in a Mercedes-Benz or BMW, Yang Wenshu sneered. A taxi, Lin Fan is really shameless. Hu Jinsong looked at Lin Fan's and Qin Yuxuan's backs as they walked away and said, "My BMW 5 Series is also in that direction." "Hu Jinsong, I think you should send Qin Yuxuan home," Wang Heiyuki said. Although Wang Heiyuki was also fascinated by Qin Yuxuan's beauty, he only had a Corolla that cost 100,000 yuan, so it was not appropriate for him to bring up the matter of giving Qin Yuxuan a ride. Wang Heiyuki hated Lin Fan. He would rather have Hu Jinsong send Qin Yuxuan back than give Lin Fan the slightest chance. "Yeah, we can't let Beauty Qin take a taxi home, otherwise her family will think that we're mistreating her." "That's right." Everyone agreed. Hu Jinsong's heart leaped with joy. He had been drooling over Qin Yuxuan for a long time. If he could use the matter of sending her home to get closer to her, or if something happened between them. Thinking up to this point, Hu Jinsong's heart burned with passion. He swallowed his saliva and said, "But what about our karaoke session?" "Don't worry, we'll book a private room and wait for you," Wang Heiyuki said. "This won't be appropriate, right?" Hu Jinsong pretended to be put in a difficult position. While everyone was chatting, Lin Fan and Qin Yuxuan continued to walk forward unhurriedly. Someone in the crowd then pointed to a place not far away and exclaimed, "Guys, look, there's a supercar over there. What a cool sports car. It looks like a Lamborghini." Everyone gasped in admiration. "That's the Lamborghini I told you about," Hu Jinsong said. "My BMW is just next to it." "Huh, why is Lin Fan walking toward the Lamborghini?" someone asked. "I think Lin Fan wants to take some photos," Wang Heiyuki said. "Take photos? Why is he doing something so embarrassing? Qin Yuxuan is right beside him," someone else said. "Lin Fan won't just take photos," Yang Wenshu sneered. "Maybe he'll even go over and touch it. In the future he'll tell others that he once touched a Lamborghini. Just like how he used to pursue after me shamelessly." I don't know where he heard some private information about me, but he actually dared to talk nonsense and say that I was the one pursuing him. Hearing this, Du Lei's expression became even calmer. He patted Yang Wenshu's waist and said, "Wenshu, I don't believe his nonsense." "Look, Lin Fan is really walking to the side of the Lamborghini," someone said. "It's more than that, he's touching the door handle. Let's see what he'll do when the car owner sees him." At this point, everyone's faces were full of ridicule. At the same time, they looked around, hoping that the car owner would appear soon. Hu Jinsong stopped in his tracks. He wanted to see this scene as well. However, in the next moment, everyone's faces froze. It was because Lin Fan opened the car door of the Lamborghini and got in with Qin Yuxuan. In the end, the Lamborghini let out a deep roar and quickly disappeared from the parking lot. Silence. The entire place was silent. Everyone was dumbstruck. Lin Fan actually drove the Lamborghini. That car was his. Did he not only earn a few thousand yuan a month? What was going on? Wang Heiyaki laughed coldly. Lin Fan is such a hypocrite. He actually rented a car to attend the class reunion. This must have cost him a month or two of his salary, right? He wanted to look well off for the class reunion. As soon as he said that, a look of realization appeared on everyone's faces. That's right. He rented that Lamborghini. Lin Fan came from a very average family. He could not afford a Lamborghini at all. At the thought of this, the contemptuous look on everyone's faces became even more intense. Ring, ring, ring. At this moment, Hu Jinsong's phone started ringing. "Hu Jinsong, where did the photo of the watch you just sent me come from?" Kaio Bo's muffled voice sounded from the other end. "Oh, that watch," Hu Jinsong laughed. "It's my old classmate's watch." Speaking up to this point, Hu Jinsong immediately turned on the speaker. He wanted to show off his connections to his classmates. At the same time, he wanted to use more evidence to prove that Lin Fan's Lamborghini was a rented one. After all, it was impossible for a person who wore an imitation watch to own a Lamborghini. F***CK, you're awesome. Kaio Bo's voice on the phone immediately became extremely excited. "What's wrong?" Hu Jinsung asked, puzzled. "That watch is Vacherin Constantin Tour de L'Isle, and there are only 7 of them in the world. Now the price of each one is at least 10 million. Moreover, there's demand but no supply." "Your classmate is so awesome, he actually owns this watch." Kaio Bo's voice became more and more excited over the phone. Silence. The entire venue was in silence once again. A watch worth tens of millions. Everyone's breathing stopped. One could rent a Lamborghini. However, there were only 7 of those watches in the world, and each one was worth tens of millions. It was absolutely impossible to rent it. The only answer was that the watch and the Lamborghini both belonged to Lin Fan. Lin Fan was the living embodiment of the god of wealth. He was not pretending at all. Everyone looked in the direction that the Lamborghini had left with complicated expressions and different thoughts. Among them, Yang Wenshu and Hu Jinsong had the most complicated feelings. Yang Wenshu was filled with regret. If she had been a little braver in high school, she might have been able to become Lin Fan's girlfriend. She would have married into a rich family. Hu Jinsong was still in a state of shock. He recalled how he had casually juggled the Vacherin Constantin Tour de L'Isle earlier, and his little heart trembled in fear. It would have been a nightmare if he accidentally damaged the Vacherin Constantin Tour de L'Isle.
Eh?
Qin Yuxuan, who was sitting in the Lamborghini, looked around curiously. "Lamborghini Aventador," she said with a sweet smile. "It's worth 10 million yuan in the country. I've never sat in such an expensive car before." "My dear classmate, you've really spoiled me today, thanks. This isn't the most expensive car you've ever taken. After all, any subway would cost a few hundred million," Lin Fan said. "That seems to be the case," Qin Yuxuan laughed. Instantly, her impression of Lin Fan improved. He kept a low profile but had an interesting personality, which was really rare. Then Qin Yuxuan started to observe Lin Fan even more closely. He had a strong body, was fit, and was fashionable too. Qin Yuxuan could not help but compare him to when he was in high school. The impression she had of Lin Fan back in high school was that he was a young and handsome man. The current Lin Fan had a mature manliness on top of his good looks. Qin Yuxuan seemed to have realized that she had been staring at Lin Fan for too long and that it was a little rude. Her face turned red. Lin Fan, what are you planning to do later? After sending you home, I'm going back to the hotel to sleep, Lin Fan said. You're staying in a hotel? Qin Yuxuan asked. Yes, I'm temporarily staying in a hotel, Lin Fan said. Qin Yuxuan thought for a moment and said, It's late in the night now, why don't we go for supper? I know a good place. Lin Fan could not help but look at Qin Yuxuan with a strange look.
Supper.
Did she not say that she had something to do at home later? Qin Yuxuan seemed to have thought of this as well, and her face, which had just returned to normal, blushed again. At the restaurant earlier, Lin Fan was practically left alone in a corner. No one talked to him at all. Therefore, Lin Fan was eating non-stop. At this moment, his stomach was already slightly bulging. However, it would be a little boring to go back to the hotel directly. All right, you can point me in the right direction, he replied. All right, Qin Yuxuan said happily. Before long, they arrived at a restaurant, Miss. Miss was a restaurant located on the riverbank. It was really nice to be able to sit inside and enjoy the scenery of the river while eating delicious food. Lin Fan ordered some skewers, scallops, and buns. How's your alcohol tolerance? Lin Fan asked. I can drink a little, Qin Yuxuan said. Then I'll have a bottle of Ace of Spades, Lin Fan nodded. The waiter's eyes immediately lit up. Ace of Spades cost 8,888 yuan per bottle. It was the most expensive alcohol in the shop. Just by selling this bottle of alcohol, the waiter would be able to get a hefty commission. While waiting for the food, Lin Fan secretly observed Qin Yuxuan. Even though it had been years since they graduated, time had not left any traces on her face. She was still as quiet and pleasant as before, and her figure had improved over the years. Overall 95 points. Very quickly, the alcohol and food were served. Lin Fan swirled the clear alcohol in the glass, then slowly poured it into his mouth. His every move was very simple. However, they were all so elegant. It was as though Lin Fan was not drinking alcohol at all. Instead, he was like a world-class pianist who was playing a beautiful tune on stage. It was so fascinating. Qin Yuxuan, who was sitting across from him, was a little dazed. The drinking gentleman had endless charm.
Clink.
When Lin Fan placed the glass on the table, it rang clear and crisp. Qin Yuxuan quickly looked away. Although Qin Yuxuan had not started drinking yet, her pretty face was already completely flushed. Qin Yuxuan took a big gulp of wine as if to cover it up. Lin Fan commented, It's rich and refreshing. At the same time, it has a special fruity fragrance. It's not bad. This Ace of Spades is authentic. He had heard that many places often used fake alcohol to trick people to make money. Lin Fan poured himself another glass of wine and drank it all in one gulp. It's a pity that the fruity fragrance is coming off a little strong and the smell of alcohol is too light. In comparison, Louis XIII tastes a little better. I'll have a bottle of Louis XIII, Lin Fan said. It was obvious that after tasting the Ace of Spades, Lin Fan's alcohol addiction had been triggered. We don't have Louis XIII here, the waiter said apologetically. If you want, I can help you get it from other stores. Okay, then I'll give you 50,000 yuan, take the extra as a tip. However, I have a request, it must be authentic, Lin Fan said. The waiter almost jumped up in excitement. A bottle of Louis XIII only costs about 30,000. 50,000. He could get a tip of more than 10,000 yuan. This was already equivalent to a few months of his salary. The waiter immediately patted his chest and promised, Sir, don't worry, I know the owner of that shop. I can guarantee that it's authentic. Lin Fan nodded and transferred 50,000 yuan to the waiter. If it was someone else who was ordering a bottle of alcohol that cost tens of thousands of yuan, Qin Yuxuan would definitely think that he was showing off his wealth. She would feel repulsed. However, Lin Fan's gentlemanly actions when he drank and his clear eyes when he bought the alcohol made Qin Yuxuan think he was not showing off his wealth. It was pure love and appreciation for wine. Skill, drinking gentleman, unlimited charm. Not long after, the panting waiter placed a beautifully packaged bottle of Louis XIII on the table. Sir, your drink, the waiter said excitedly. With a soft thud, the bottle cap fell to the ground. He slowly poured some of the light red cognac into the glass. Lin Fan first sniffed it, then poured it into his mouth. Great job, it's authentic, Lin Fan said. Thank you for the compliment, sir, the waiter said happily. It would have been normal for the waiter to want to stay by Lin Fan's side all the time now. That way, he would be sure to get more benefits. However, the waiter glanced at Qin Yuxuan, who was sitting opposite Lin Fan. He understood what he should do and said, if you need anything else, just call me over. Looking at how Lin Fan was enjoying himself, Qin Yuxuan followed suit and tried a mouthful of Louis XIII. However, she choked and coughed. Are you all right? Louis XIII is nice, but it's too strong. Ace of Spades is more suitable for women. Qin Yuxuan took a bite of the skewers and said, I'm fine, I'm fine. At the start, Lin Fan did not eat much and only drank a few glasses of alcohol. However, as time passed, the food in his stomach was gradually digested. Therefore, he also started eating. The two of them looked at each other as they reminisced about their time in high school. They talked and laughed in a relaxed manner. Qin Yuxuan had only drunk 3 small glasses of wine, but when she left her face was as red as a ripe apple. On the other hand, Lin Fan did not show much of a reaction. It was as if he had only drunk 2 bottles of water. Qin Yuxuan stood at the entrance of looking at the river view in the distance. She sighed satisfiedly, it's so beautiful. Lin Fan pointed to a place not far away. We can only see a small part of the river from here. When we get to the hill, not only will we be able to see the entire river, but we can also see the entire Zhongbai city. Then let's hurry over, Qin Yuxuan said excitedly. Lin Fan nodded his head and walked forward. Standing on the hillside, one could see the flowing Milky Way above both sides of the river. The stars north of the river were shining like bright flames in the sky. Qin Yuxuan's beautiful black eyes flickered as she exclaimed, it's so beautiful.
Pitter-patter.
At this moment, the sound of water came from behind them. Then, 4 men with dyed hair who were reeking of alcohol walked out of the shadows while still zipping up their pants. Hey, there's a pretty girl here. Hey, pretty lady, do you want to hang out with us? I'll make you happy.
That's right.
The 4 of them looked at Qin Yuxuan's sweet face and perfect figure. Under the influence of alcohol, they were like hungry wolves, their eyes full of desire. Qin Yuxuan looked at the 4 guys who were getting closer and closer, and her expression darkened. The scenery here was beautiful, but the surroundings were a little deserted, and there were no surveillance cameras at all. Moreover, it did not seem like she could afford to offend these 4 people either. Furthermore, they had been drinking. Qin Yuxuan's face was covered in sweat. Lin Fan hissed coldly, get lost before I get angry. This sentence did not scare the 4 of them away. Pretty lady, this is your man, right? I can tell that he's a softie. I don't think he has ever satisfied you. Today, we'll give you a good time. The red-haired man laughed, revealing 2 rows of yellow teeth. That's right, let's have a good time, the other 3 laughed along. As the 4 of them spoke, they continued to move forward. Qin Yuxuan, stand back a little, Lin Fan said. After saying that, Lin Fan unhurriedly rolled up his sleeves. The next moment he took a step forward. A fierce and swift fist landed on the red-haired thug's face.
Thud.
The terrifying force sent the redhead flying to the ground. However, Lin Fan did not stop there.
Thud. Thud.
Then he threw punch after punch at the red-haired man's face like a storm. The red-haired man's nose was broken, his teeth had fallen out, and his face became a bloody mess. He passed out. Only then did Lin Fan stand up and punch the green-haired man's chest.
Crack.
The ribs in the man's chest were broken.
Crack. Crack.
Lin Fan continued swinging his fists and broke more than 10 ribs, sending the man to the ground like a slop. The other 2 people were scared out of their wits, and they turned to run. However, Lin Fan jumped out like a leopard and broke one of their arms and another one's legs. The whole process was extremely cruel and bloody. Qin Yuxuan hated violence, but she did not take her eyes off Lin Fan's every move. It was as if Lin Fan was not resorting to violence at all. Instead, he was performing a beautiful dance that would captivate anyone. Skill, violent aesthetics, true manliness. He was low-key, introverted, humorous, fashionable, gentlemanly when drinking, and even beautiful when fighting. At long last, Qin Yuxuan fell head over heels for him. Ding charm aura triggered unforgettable memory. The next moment, Qin Yuxuan could not help but jump into Lin Fan's arms. The next day the sun was high in the sky. Cars were coming and going on the road, making it very lively. In the presidential suite of Hilton Hotel, Qin Yuxuan was like a docile kitten curled up on the big white bed. After a long time, her long eyelashes finally fluttered and she slowly opened her eyes. Qin Yuxuan looked around and recalled the scene from last night. She quickly covered her delicate body with the bed sheets stained with some red. At that moment, Lin Fan walked in slowly with a bowl of vegetable and lean meat porridge in his hands. Qin Yuxuan wanted to get out of bed, but the pain in her lower abdomen prevented her from doing so. Lin Fan hurriedly said, "Yuxuan, don't get up, it was tough on you last night, get some more rest." Qin Yuxuan's pretty face immediately blushed when he said that. "I'll feed you the porridge." Lin Fan walked to the bed and said, "I want to brush my teeth first, can you go out for a while? I can get up now," Qin Yuxuan said while blushing. "Do you need my help?" Lin Fan asked. No need, Qin Yuxuan said. Lin Fan did not force her, he nodded and walked out of the room. When he arrived in the living room, it was exactly 12 o'clock. His phone vibrated and a red packet appeared. Ding, congratulations, you've received 1 yuan. Ding, congratulations, you've received a 10x spending return card.
Eh?
Ding, congratulations, you've received 29,999. Ding, congratulations, you have received 2 yuan. It was now 12:01 p.m. Prompt, there are still 23 hours and 59 minutes until the next red packet. Note, for every 10,000 yuan you spend, you can immediately receive a red packet. Lin Fan pouted, "I spent tens of thousands of dollars yesterday and all I got was cash. Today's red packets are all cash again." If other people knew what Lin Fan said, who knew what they would think? One had to know that he had drawn tens of thousands of cash yesterday. Today, he received tens of thousands of cash and a 10x spending return card. However, Lin Fan despised it. Lin Fan then turned his attention to the system. Name Lin Fan. Level LV3. Level 3 reward 5 yuan for every breath, 5 yuan for every second of sleep, and 5 yuan for every step taken. Rewards are distributed at 12 a.m. daily. Upgrade cost 350,000 1 million, not including gifts and gambling. In addition, all items obtained from the system are prohibited from being traded. Charm 92, closely related to appearance, clothing, and mental state. Skills, professional driving skills, charming aura, 5% chance to trigger love at first sight and unforgettable love, violent aesthetics, drinking gentleman. Funds 1.38 million. All funds come from reasonable and legal sources. There is no need to worry about direct use. About an hour later, Qin Yuxuan finally got dressed and walked out of the room. Compared to yesterday, she was surrounded in a uniquely feminine aura today. Qin Yuxuan pounced into Lin Fan's arms. Her body trembled slightly as tears flowed down her face like a clear spring. "Yuxuan, why are you crying? Who made you angry?" Lin Fan said. "No, it's not that, I'm not crying, I'm just happy." Qin Yuxuan wiped away the tears on her face. Back in high school, Qin Yuxuan had already developed a good impression of Lin Fan. Now Lin Fan had become her man, it was perfect. Lin Fan caressed Qin Yuxuan's slim waist and said, "Yuxuan, don't worry, I'll always take care of you." "All right," Qin Yuxuan nodded. The two of them coaxed each other for a while, then they had lunch together. "Lin Fan, I'm going to Madu City later," Qin Yuxuan said. "So fast," Lin Fan said. "It took me a lot of effort to join my supervisor's project. Tomorrow the project will officially begin. I want to work hard to achieve something," Qin Yuxuan answered in all earnesty. With Lin Fan's current abilities, he could easily provide Qin Yuxuan with the best life. However, Lin Fan knew very well that Qin Yuxuan was a strong and ambitious woman. If she was like a canary that got locked in a gorgeous cage and fed well, she would not be happy at all. Lin Fan said, "But what about your body?" "Don't worry, I'm fine," Qin Yuxuan said with a smile. "All right, I'll send you to Madu City later," Lin Fan said. Qin Yuxuan had already bought an economy-class ticket to Madu City. According to her, the flight would not take more than an hour to reach Madu City, so it did not matter which cabin they took. However, Lin Fan still insisted on changing the tickets to first class. Just like that, Qin Yuxuan fell asleep on the spacious first-class seat. When Qin Yuxuan and Lin Fan walked out of the airport, it was already 5:30 p.m. A slightly puzzled voice suddenly rang out in the distance, "Yuxuan." Molly, Qin Yuxuan turned around and asked in surprise. "So it really is you, Yuxuan, we're totally besties, we even took the same flight at the same time," Huang Molly said happily. "Yeah, I didn't expect that either," Qin Yuxuan said. Huang Molly seemed to have only just noticed Lin Fan, who was standing at the side. She asked, "Who's this?" "Hello, I'm Yuxuan's boyfriend Lin Fan." Lin Fan took the initiative to introduce himself. "Your boyfriend?" Huang Molly looked at Qin Yuxuan with a questioning gaze. Qin Yuxuan held onto Lin Fan's arm and introduced, "Lin Fan, this is my roommate Huang Molly." When Huang Molly heard that, she could not help but size Lin Fan up. She said, "You're quite handsome, however our Yuxuan is the famous campus belle of Moda University. Who knows how many handsome guys and young masters are pursuing her? Hurry up and tell me, how did you manage to trick Yuxuan into your hands?" "I didn't trick Yuxuan," Lin Fan said. "My sincerity moved her." "Not bad, however I still have to test your sincerity toward her. Do you mind treating us roommates to dinner?" Huang Molly said with a cheeky smile. "Of course not, however it's my first time in Madu City so I'm not too familiar with it, so I'll have to ask you guys to make the reservation," Lin Fan said. "No problem," Huang Molly said happily. Then she took out her phone and sent a message to their other roommates. At the restaurant Peninsula, Lin Fan and the other two had just sat down when an average-sized girl walked over and said, "Zhang Jin has something on, she can't make it." "This is Wan Yueru," Qin Yuxuan introduced the girl to Lin Fan. "This is my boyfriend Lin Fan," she said after a pause. Wan Yueru said, "Yuxuan, you got yourself a boyfriend without saying a word. I don't know how many guys at the university are going to cry. By the way, how did you two meet?" "We were high school classmates," Qin Yuxuan said. "Oh, no wonder you've never fallen in love with someone else. It turns out that you already had someone in your heart all this while." Wan Yuru laughed. "Lin Fan, our Yuxuan has been waiting for you for so many years. Don't let her down in the future." "Don't worry, I'll definitely be good to Yuxuan forever," Lin Fan said. They were all youngsters, so they chatted and laughed without being overly formal with each other. The food in this restaurant was very cheap. It cost 1,500 yuan in total for 4 people. Clearly, Huang Molly and Wan Yueru was trying to do Lin Fan a favor. Ring ring ring. At this moment Wan Yueru's phone rang. After hanging up, Wan Yueru said, "My Cartier earrings have been fixed. The shop is just in front. Do you guys want to go together and take a look around?" "Sure, I haven't gone shopping in a long time, besides it's still early," Huang Molly said. Lin Fan and Qin Yuxuan nodded, indicating that they were willing to come along. Guojin Center was beautifully decorated and fashionable. It was full of people and very lively. Lin Fan and the rest took the escalator and went straight to Cartier. "Welcome to Cartier," a sweet-looking employee stood at the entrance of the store and welcomed them politely. "How may I help you?" the shop assistant asked. "I'm here to get my earrings," Wan Yuru said. As she spoke, Wan Yuru took out a receipt. "All right, please wait a moment," the shop assistant said. Then, she handed the receipt to the staff member standing in front of the cashier. Women were naturally attracted to jewelry. After Huang Molly entered Cartier, she started to look around. However, she did not dare to look at the big pieces of jewelry because the prices were too frightening. She only pointed at some small accessories and could not help but praise them. "Whoa, this bracelet is so pretty," Huang Moli said. It's really beautiful, Wan Yuru said. This is a Cartier love bracelet, the shop assistant introduced with a smile. It was designed by the famous designer Hunter Buck. There are 7 different styles of love bracelets. They're like rainbows, bright, colorful, and full of energy. Huang Moli and Wan Yuuru were already extremely fond of the bracelet. After hearing the shop assistant's explanation, their eyes lit up. 7 different styles, even if each of the 4 of us in the dormitory buys one, it'd be completely different, Wan Yuuru said excitedly. Then, the shop assistant pointed at an extremely gorgeous necklace displayed in the counter and said, "Not long ago, Hunter Buck designed the Star of the Deep Sea. It's like a star hidden in the deep sea, mysterious and dazzling." Because of this Star of the Deep Sea, Hunter Buck has also won the love of countless people in international exhibitions. Qin Yuxuan followed the shop assistant's finger, and her eyes lit up. It was obvious that she liked the necklace. "Yuxuan, I've never given you a present before. I'll give you this necklace then," Lin Fan said. When the shop assistant heard this, she hurriedly said, "Sir, your taste is really great. This beautiful lady is just as mysterious, dazzling, and eye-catching in the crowd as the necklace. If she wears the Star of the Deep Sea, they would simply complement each other." Qin Yuxuan shook her head and said, "I just do research at the university every day. There's no need for me to wear this necklace. This necklace must be very expensive." Qin Yuxuan did not think that Lin Fan could not afford it. However, she did not want Lin Fan to think that she was vain. The shop assistant sighed in her heart. "Someone wants to give you such a beautiful necklace, yet you don't want it." "How much does this Star of the Deep Sea cost?" Huang Moli asked. "The main body of the Star of the Deep Sea is made of 2 carats of blue diamond, which is the only one in the entire Madu city. And its price is 1.08 million, the shop assistant said. "It's that expensive?" Huang Moli asked in surprise. Although she had already expected the price of this necklace to be very expensive, she did not expect such an astronomical price. A necklace like that was enough to buy a luxury car. Wan Yuuru was also shocked by the price and asked, "What about the love bracelets?" "The love bracelets are 58,888 bucks each," the shop assistant said. When Wan Yuuru and Huang Moli heard this price, their faces revealed a dejected look. 58,888 yuan, it was close to 60,000 yuan. They were only students now. Perhaps they could fork out this sum of money in the future. However, it was very difficult for them to do so now. Therefore, even though the 2 of them liked it, they had no choice but to give it up. At this moment, Wan Yuuru received her earrings. "Miss, do you need me to help you wrap up your earrings?" the shop assistant asked with a smile. "Yes, wrap them up," Wan Yuuru said. Then they continued to stroll around Guojin Center. Lin Fan found an opportunity to go to the washroom, but he actually returned to Cartier. The shop assistant recognized him at a glance and greeted him with a smile. "Sir, what can I do for you?" "I want the Star of the Deep Sea and 4 love bracelets," Lin Fan said. 4 love bracelets and 1 Star of the Deep Sea. This was a big order of more than 1.3 million. The shop assistant's heart began to beat wildly. "All right, I'll wrap them up for you," she said excitedly. Lin Fan waved his hand and said, "No need, just give them to me." "All right," she said. The shop assistant quickly responded, then took out a calculator and fiddled with it. "The total is 1,315,552 yuan. I can give you a 10% discount." "No need, just take the discount as your tip," Lin Fan said. Then he took out his bank card. The shop assistant's service attitude was very good, and she was good at introducing the jewelry too. More importantly, she picked out a necklace that Qin Yuxuan liked. Therefore, she should be rewarded. The shop assistant's heart started to race again. The discount would be her tip. This was a deal worth more than 1.3 million yuan. Even at the very least, the discount would be more than 10,000. Now all of that was hers. The shop assistant spent a lot of effort to suppress the excitement in her heart and said, "Thank you, sir, thank you." "Ding, you have spent 1,315,552 yuan. Do you want to use the 10x return card?" Yes, Lin Fan muttered in his heart. Ding, system upgrade level 4. Level 4 reward, 10 yuan for every breath, 10 yuan for every second of sleep, 10 yuan for every step taken. Rewards are distributed at 12 a.m. daily. Upgrade cost 660,000, 10 million, not including gifts and gambling. In addition, all items obtained from the system are prohibited from being traded. The guaranteed cash he received every day doubled again, reaching about 700,000 yuan. Then his phone vibrated. Notice from China Merchant Bank, 13,155,520 yuan has been deposited into your account. He received 15 million yuan directly. After Lin Fan took the 5 pieces of jewelry, he returned to Qin Yuxuan's side as if nothing had happened. Women naturally love to shop. However, the things in the Guojin Center were too expensive and far beyond their spending ability. The feeling of seeing something you like but not being able to pay for it and having no choice but to leave was too unbearable. Therefore, after walking around for a while, they suggested that they leave. Lin Fan, I might not be able to accompany you tonight. I have to go back to the dormitory to prepare some materials for tomorrow's project. Lin Fan nodded, okay, but don't tire yourself out, take care of your health. After sharing some sweet words, the two of them separated. In the dormitory of Madu University. Hurry up and tell me how's Yuxuan's boyfriend, Zhang Jin asked impatiently. 1 word handsome, Huang Moli said. 2 words very handsome, Wan Yuru said. It's all my supervisor's fault for suddenly working overtime today, Zhang Jiang said regretfully. I missed the chance to see a handsome guy. Qin Yuxuan shook her head as she looked at her roommates' funny faces. Out of habit, she opened her bag and took out her phone. The next moment, Qin Yuxuan took out a bunch of accessories and asked, why are these in my bag? The love bracelets, Huang Moli cried out in surprise. And the heart of the deep sea, Wan Yuru shouted. Huang Moli said, I know, Lin Fan must have bought them when he went to the washroom and secretly put them in your bag. Heavens, he easily bought a 1,000,000 yuan piece of jewelry and then secretly gave it away. Moreover, he's so handsome, gosh, he's the perfect man, Wan Yuru shouted. Huang Moli cried out, I finally understand now why Yuxuan rejected all those handsome guys and young masters in the university. If I had such a perfect Prince Charming, I'd definitely treat those guys like two. Wan Yuru asked, Yuxuan, does your boyfriend have an older or younger brother? Please introduce me to them. Me too, I want to be introduced to them too, Huang Moli said. Me too, please introduce me, Zhang Jin said. Qin Yuxuan was amused by them and said, it's a pity that he only has one sister. As soon as she said that, the 3 of them were extremely depressed. He doesn't have a brother, but you guys can have a bracelet, Qin Yuxuan said. As she spoke, Qin Yuxuan took out 3 love bracelets. In the presidential suite of Shangri-La. The colorful night scene was reflected in front of the panoramic floor-to-ceiling window, like the stars in the night sky, gorgeous and bright. Lin Fan finished the glass of XO in one gulp. Then his gaze fell on his phone. You've spent 1.31 million yuan and received 131 red packets. Do you want to collect all of them? Lin Fan had already received these red packets when he was at Guojin Center. However, he did not accept them immediately. That was because Lin Fan did not know what he would get. At this moment, he did not have so many scruples.
Yes.
Ding, congratulations, you've received 100 yuan. Ding, congratulations, you've received 99 yuan. Ding, congratulations, you've gained professor-level mathematics experience. Use excellent mathematical knowledge to solve difficult problems while showing a fascinating charm. Ding, congratulations, you've obtained the skill absolute focus and thus the ability to easily answer difficult questions. There's a 5% chance of triggering a flash of inspiration. A focused and serious man is the most handsome. Ding, congratulations, you've received 10,000 yuan. Ding, congratulations, you've obtained Jiangbei City's Kaiyankun Building Office Block 1. Out of the 131 red packets, Lin Fan received a total of 500,000 yuan. Then he focused on his professor-level mathematics experience and absolute focus. Professor-level mathematics experience, if only I had this when I was in school. Absolute focus, this one seems pretty good. When Lin Fan raised his head, he saw a stack of property certificates on the coffee table in front of him. Kainkun Building Level 1 A201, area of 200 square meters, property owner Lin Fan. Kainkun Building Level 1 A202, area of 150 square meters, property owner Lin Fan. Lin Fan looked at these title deeds and revealed a strange expression. Kainkun Building, isn't this where I work? Ring ring ring. At that moment Lin Fan's phone rang urgently. Lin Fan, why didn't you come to work today? Ma Jiyuan's voice came from the phone. Lin Fan then remembered that it was working hours today. Oh, I forgot to tell you that I'm going to resign, Lin Fan said. Even if the system had not appeared, Lin Fan had already thought of resigning. Now the plan was brought forward. Quit, Ma Jiyuan was stunned for a moment. All right then, if you have time, come over and carry out the handover process, otherwise the supervisor will probably cut your salary for last month. All right, I'll head over in 2 days, Lin Fan said. Lin Fan naturally did not care about the salary. However, he had always been a person who would finish what he started. If he did not do the handover process, the person taking over his work would be in trouble. After he hung up, his phone vibrated. It was a WeChat photo from Qin Yuxuan. The photo was of her beautiful face, and the heart of the deep sea was seen around her snow-white neck. Her whole person was faintly blooming with a brilliant light. Mysterious and beautiful. Qin Yuxuan, I like it very much, thank you. Lin Fan, there's no need to say thanks between us, it's good that you like it. Qin Yuxuan, the project will officially start tomorrow. I'll be quite busy for a while, so I might not be able to accompany you to go around Madu City. Lin Fan replied, it's okay, you do your thing, however you have to balance work and rest. Lin Fan, this is perfect timing too, I'll probably have to return to Jiangbei tomorrow to settle some work matters. I'll come back to Madu City to hang out with you in the future. Qin Yuxuan replied, okay. In Kainkun Building, Jiangbei City. Chang Kui looked at the lease contract and muttered, it'll be up in 2 months. Let's go to Mr. Wang from the property management to renew the contract for next year. I hope the price won't rise by too much. As he spoke, Chang Kui walked out of the office and went straight to the top floor of the Kainkun building. President Wang, long time no see, what are you busy with? Chang Kui asked with a smile. I'm sorting out some contracts and documents, Wang Zhang said. By the way, is there anything I can help you with, Director Chang? Can I have some tea with you, President Wang? Chang Kui laughed. As he spoke, Chang Kui took out a jar of premium tea and said, this is premium tea that my friend brought from Wuyi. However, I don't really drink tea, so I brought it here for you to try. Wang Zhang was a tea lover, and his eyes lit up when he saw the premium tea. Chang Kui continued, by the way, our company's rent will be up in 2 months. Director Wang, do you think we should renew the contract? Wang Zhang said helplessly, Director Chang, you might have made a wasted trip today. Kainkun Building has already been sold to someone else. You sold it to someone else? Chang Kui's eyes widened in surprise. It was no wonder he was so surprised. Kainkun Building was located in the center of Jiangbei City, where every inch of land was worth its weight in gold. The estimated price of the entire Kainkun Building was as high as 1 billion. Chang Kui did not dare to imagine what kind of person could take out such a large sum of money. That's right, Wang Zhang nodded and said, so we can only discuss the renewal of the contract after the new boss comes. Director Wang, is it convenient for you to tell me who bought Kainkun Building? Chang Kui asked. Wang Zhang hesitated for a moment before saying, you'll find out sooner or later anyway, so I'll tell you first. As he spoke, Wang Zhang took out a document from the drawer. Chang Kui quickly flipped through it and said in surprise, Lin Fan, the person who bought the building is so young. The next day, after sending a message to Qin Yuxuan, Lin Fan bought a first-class ticket and returned to Jiangbei City. It was already afternoon. Lin Fan did not choose to go to the company. Instead, he returned to the Hilton Hotel and prepared to hand over the work the next morning. When he walked into the lobby of the Hilton Hotel, he was attracted by the large posters. International Mathematical Research and Discussion Conference welcomes you. Hu Chuan, Dean of the School of Mathematics of Jiangbei University. Fang Zhengteng, Professor of the School of Mathematics at Hanzhong University. When 2 p 2 n plus 1, MP has 2n plus 1 as a prime number. Lin Fan did not pay much attention to the introductions of the people in front of him. However, when he saw the math problem at the back, he was interested. Lin Fan thought for a moment, then picked up the pen beside him and quickly wrote on the wide signature board. Pi MP 22n pi MP 22n1 equals 2n1. Pi MP 22n equals 2n plus 1n1.
Thud thud thud.
The entire lobby was filled with a series of rapid knocking sounds. At the start, Lin Fan's writing speed was still very fast. However, Zhou's conjecture was a world-class problem. Even with Lin Fan's professor-level mathematics experience, he was soon stuck and his writing speed slowed down. It was like a rugged mountain road that was difficult to cross. However, Lin Fan loved to challenge difficulties and never gave up. He had been calculating silently. Ding! Absolute focus triggered a flash of inspiration. Instantly, it was as if Lin Fan had grown a pair of wings. His initially slowed writing speed became even faster. Outside the Hilton Hotel, a few men and women in suits and leather shoes who looked very refined and elegant were walking forward. The teachers, professors, and leaders of Jiangzhong University, the University of Science and Technology, and Jiangbei University of Technology will all be attending the seminar. Have you prepared the venue and meals? The dean of the School of Mathematics, Hu Chuan, asked. President Hu, don't worry, I've already prepared all of the logistics. I guarantee that this international mathematics conference will be a grand event, Huang Zihao said. We all know that dean who has taken a huge step forward in the research of Zhou's conjecture. I believe that this seminar will definitely cause a sensation in the country or even the world. They walked toward Hilton Hotel with smiles on their faces. In the next moment, everyone's footsteps suddenly stopped. That was because they found a young man quickly writing a series of calculations on the signature board in the hall. Seeing this, Huang Zihao's forehead broke out in a cold sweat. He was extremely flustered. He had just told Dean Hu Chuan that he would make this international mathematics conference a grand event. In the blink of an eye, the signature board had been scribbled on. How would Dean Hu Chuan's impression of him change?
Thud thud.
At this time, two young people who looked like students walked over from the distance. When they saw Hu Chuan, Huang Zihao, and the others, they could not help but speed up. Didn't I ask you to decorate the venue? Huang Zihao asked in a low voice. How did this person suddenly appear? Our stomachs suddenly hurt a little just now, so we went to the bathroom, the taller boy explained. Stomach pain, HMPH, look at what the signature board has become, Huang Zihao pointed to the front. The two students quickly looked in the direction of the signature board. Why would someone be writing an algorithm on this? The tall boy said. Why would someone write an arithmetic formula on it? Quickly make him stop, Huang Zihao scolded. The two students finally reacted and stepped forward. At this moment, Hu Chuan, who had been silent all this while, said, "Don't disturb him." Huang Zihao and his two students paused for a moment, their faces full of confusion. However, Hu Chuan did not explain much. He just stared at Lin Fan, who was writing calculations with a burning gaze. Professor Song Guitao, who was standing next to him, could not help but look over as well. In the next moment, his pupils shrank slightly as he said in surprise, "He's trying to solve Zhou's conjecture." Professor Song, do you think he can solve Zhou's conjecture? A young teacher Hu Tian asked. He's already solved it, Hu Chuan said excitedly. At that moment, Lin Fan wrote down his final answer. When 2 p 2 n plus 1, MP has 2n plus 1, which is a prime number.
Click.
Then Lin Fan put down his pen and walked straight to the elevator. He was going to go back to his room to rest. He solved a math problem after a 2-hour flight. He was a little tired. Hu Chuan quickly jogged after him. When he saw Lin Fan's face, he could not hide the shock on his face. After that, she took the initiative to reach out his hand and said, "Hello, can I get a few minutes of your time? I'm Hu Chuan, the dean of the School of Mathematics at Jiangbei University." Earlier, Hu Chuan had guessed from Lin Fan's back view that he would be relatively young. However, he did not expect him to be so young. He was probably younger than the two graduate students who set up the venue today. Respecting the old and cherishing the young was a traditional virtue of the country. Hu Chuan was already over 50 years old, yet he treated him politely. Lin Fan naturally responded politely. He reached out his hand and shook it. "Hello, I'm Lin Fan." "Mr. Lin, it's hard to imagine that you've studied prime numbers to this extent at such a young age. You even solved Zhou's conjecture." Hu Chuan sighed with emotion. "I wonder which university you're a professor at, Mr. Lin," Hu Chuan asked tentatively. "I'm not a professor," Lin Fan said with a smile. When Hu Chuan heard this, not only was he not disappointed, but he was even more excited. "Mr. Lin, would you be interested in becoming a mathematics professor at Jiangbei University?" Hu Chuan said anxiously. Lin Fan was stunned for a moment. He had not expected Hu Chuan to make such an invitation. Hu Chuan saw Lin Fan's hesitation and said, "Mr. Lin, don't worry. Jiangbei University will definitely give you the best offer. Also, if you have any other requests you can tell us, we'll try our best to satisfy you." "Director Hu, you misunderstood me," Lin Fan explained. "I can't be a professor because I'm only a high school graduate." "This doesn't affect anything," Hu Chuan quickly said. "With your mathematics ability, you don't need a certificate to prove it." To most people, education was indeed very important. However, he was a person who had studied prime numbers to this extent. Furthermore, the young man who directly solved Zhou's conjecture was obviously not an ordinary person. No one knew how great his future achievements would be. Now that Hu Chuan had finally encountered someone like him, he naturally had to make good use of the opportunity. Lin Fan could see the sincerity in Hu Chuan's eyes. He was preparing to quit his job and did not know what he was going to do in the future. On top of that, Lin Fan was also looking forward to university life. At the thought of this, Lin Fan finally opened his mouth and said, "Let's forget about me being a professor at Jiangbei University. However, if you let me study at Jiangbei University, I might be a little interested." The professor had to give lessons. It was troublesome just thinking about it. It was obvious that being a student was more to Lin Fan's liking. He was relaxed, free, and unrestrained. When Hu Chuan heard the first half of Lin Fan's sentence, his face was filled with regret. However, after hearing the second half of Lin Fan's sentence, his old face was like a crumpled piece of paper. He smiled and said happily, "All right, I'll help you with the admission procedures later." In fact, even with Hu Chuan's influence, it would be difficult for a high school graduate to become a mathematics professor at Jiangbei University. However, it would be much easier to recruit a special student. The two of them hit it off. Hu Chuan said, "By the way, Mr. Lin, the professors and teachers of many universities in Jiang province will all come to the hotel to participate in the mathematics seminar. I wonder if you can come on stage and explain the prime number and Zhou's conjecture." Lin Fan yawned, "Maybe not, I have to go back to my room to sleep, I won't be joining." To an ordinary person, giving a speech in front of many deans and professors was definitely a very rare opportunity. However, Lin Fan would rather sleep a little more. Hu Chuan felt a little regretful, but he did not force Lin Fan. Lin Fan entered the presidential suite and took a hot shower. Then he spent 100,000 yuan and asked the waiter to send up a seafood feast and a bottle of XO. "Ding, you've spent 100,000 yuan and received 10 red packets. Do you want to collect all of them?"
Yes.
Lin Fan clicked confirm. "Ding, congratulations, you've received 19,999 yuan. Ding, congratulations, you've received 2,000 yuan.
Eh?
Ding, congratulations, you've received 10,000 yuan. Lin Fan received a total of 112,500 yuan from the 10 red packets. In other words, he had spent money on a big meal. but he earned back more than 100,000 yuan. Lin Fan looked at the text message from the bank, and his face revealed a strange expression. After eating and drinking to his heart's content, Lin Fan lay down on the soft bed and fell asleep in satisfaction. Lin Fan opened his eyes in a daze and picked up his phone out of habit. An unread message from the bank had already appeared on the screen. Notice from Merchant Bank, 7 million yuan has been deposited into your account. Lin Fan got up, washed up, and went to the restaurant downstairs to have his breakfast. After that, he started the Lamborghini and sped toward Kainkun building. Along the way, it was inevitable that he would attract many people's sidelong glances. On the 7th floor of Kainkun building, Flying Heart Limited. A silver-gray supercar just drove into the parking lot, the sharp-faced Li Lanwan said. "Sai, it's a pity that I didn't see the tycoon in the car." Her tone was full of regret, and her face was full of reminiscence. It was as if she had missed out on a few $100 million. "But I think that tycoon must be a tall, handsome, and perfect man," she added after a pause. The round-faced woman replied, "I don't know what that tycoon looks like, but that supercar is really cool. He's so cool." At this moment, Lin Fan walked over unhurriedly and said, "It's just a car, it's not a big deal." Li Lanwan glanced at him from the corner of her eyes and said in disdain, "Not a big deal. I'm afraid you can't even afford the wheels of that supercar, yet you're still talking big." After saying that, Li Lanwan strode forward in her thumb-thick high heels. It was as though the longer she stayed around Lin Fan, the lower her status would be. Li Lanwan used her face and body to act coy and have her colleagues help her with work. However, all of her tricks were completely useless in front of Lin Fan. This made Li Lanwan extremely unhappy. In fact, she hated Lin Fan. Lin Fan was the kind of guy who would never do anything that he should not do. Moreover, Lin Lanyuan was a woman who had her face and body completely altered from head to toe. There was no way he would help her. "I'm not her father, why should I?" Lin Fan walked into his office and immediately organized the documents. He handed them over to his colleagues. He turned around and was about to leave when he saw Li Lanwan standing next to manager Chen Guangping, who had a fierce-looking face. She was whispering something to him. Then Chen Guangping strode over and said, "Lin Fan, you want to resign?" "Yes," Lin Fan said casually. "Let me take a look at the documents you handed over." Chen Guangping picked up the documents and casually flipped through them. "What the hell are you handing over?" he shouted angrily. "Hurry up and go back to tidy these documents up." As he spoke, he threw the documents at Lin Fan. Lin Fan's eyes turned cold as he dodged to the side. Chen Guangping saw that Lin Fan had dodged, and it was as if his dignity had been challenged. He picked up another document on the table and threw it at Lin Fan again. Lin Fan's body swayed as he dodged it successfully once more. This man had attacked him again and again. Did he really think that Lin Fan was a pushover? Lin Fan's face was cold. He picked up a glass cup and smashed it on Chen Guangping's head. Bang! The glass shattered and blood splattered. Chen Guangping's sturdy body fell straight to the ground and curled up into a ball. He held his head and kept wailing. "Ah, my head is buzzing. It hurts so much." The faint smell of blood slowly spread in the office. Chen Guangping was still holding his bleeding head. It took him a lot of effort to get up. "Lin Fan, you're so cowardly." He was in the middle of scolding Lin Fan when he was frightened by the other's cold face. He changed his words. "Why you hit me?" "Hit you? When did I ever hit you?" Lin Fan said calmly. As he spoke, he walked toward Chen Guangping. Lin Fan's pace and speed were all extremely normal. However, Chen Guangping was so scared that he stepped back and said in a panic, "Don't come over." At the same time, his eyes kept looking around the office for help. However, Chen Guangping was domineering in the company and had no social relations at all. How could anyone be willing to help him? "I'm going to call the police if you keep doing this," Chen Guangping shouted in fear. However, it was as if Lin Fan did not hear him at all as he continued moving forward. Thud thud thud. At this moment, there was the sound of heavy footsteps outside. Then Chang Kui, who was dressed in a suit and leather shoes, strode in. He looked at the chaotic office and frowned. what happened? Lin Fan's actions earlier had scared Li Lanwan. She was hiding in a corner and did not dare to make a sound. At this time, after hearing Chang Kui's voice, Li Lanwan's expression changed slightly, and she hurriedly showed her face. Director Chang, I know what happened. The employee called Lin Fan wants to resign, so Manager Xing asked him to hand over his work according to the rules. However, Lin Fan did a sloppy job. Manager Xing asked him to do it again. In the end, Lin Fan was so angry that he beat up Manager Xing. When Li Lanwan said this, she even put on a weak and scared look. This was her usual trick to arouse a man's desire to protect her so that she could get closer to him. In the past, Li Lanwan had no chance to use this trick to seduce Chang Kui. Now that she had finally met him, she naturally would not miss out on him. At this moment, Li Lanwan had already started to fantasize about the beautiful life she would have with Chang Kui. Director, you have to help me, Xing Guangping cried. When Chang Kui heard this, his brows furrowed even more. It was not because of the fight. It was because he felt like he had heard the name Lin Fan before. In the next moment, Chang Kui's pupils constricted as he walked over to Lin Fan. He bowed slightly and stretched out his hand. Hello, Mr. Lin. Chang Kui finally remembered where he had heard the name Lin Fan. The new boss of Kaiyankun Building was called Lin Fan. In fact, he had even seen Lin Fan's photo yesterday. Li Lanwan saw that Chang Kui was speaking to Lin Fan in such a good tone. A good tone. No, it was not just a good tone. In fact, there was even a faint trace of respect. Li Lanwan seemed to have thought of something and explained, Director, you might have mistaken him for someone else. Lin Fan is just an ordinary employee of our company. He even hit Manager Xing just now. He's very vulgar. Please be careful, don't get hurt. Calling the owner of Kaiyankun Building vulgar to his face. How dare she? If Li Lanwan caused Lin Fan to refuse the renewal of the contract with him, how much of a loss would he suffer? When Chang Kui thought of this, he felt a burst of anger. If Lin Fan was not in front of him, Chang Kui would have scolded Li Lanwan. As for mistaking Lin Fan for someone else, that was impossible. Not to mention, Lin Fan's name and appearance were exactly the same as what he saw yesterday. Lin Fan's branded clothes were enough to show that he was not an ordinary person. Moreover, Chang Kui could tell at a glance that Lin Fan was wearing a Vacheron Constantin Tour de l'Isle, which was a luxury watch worth tens of millions. All of this indicated that the person in front of him was definitely the owner of Kaiyankun Building. Seeing how polite Chang Kui was to him, Lin Fan thought for a moment and could guess the reason. Then he reached out and shook Chang Kui's hand. He smiled and said, Director Chang, your company doesn't seem to welcome me. I'm sorry, Mr. Lin, Chang Kui said with an apologetic smile. I wasn't strict enough when I was recruiting. Xing Guangping listened to the conversation between the two, and his heart began to panic. Director, please don't be fooled by Lin Fan. This rascal likes to make up stories. Chang Kui's face turned serious as he turned around and shouted, Shut up, make up stories. The entire Kaiyankun Building is Mr. Lin's. What do you think he'll make up? Boom. His words were like a bomb exploding in everyone's heart. Everyone present was dumbfounded. Kaiyankun Building was located in the center of Jiangbei City where land was extremely expensive. The entire office building was worth 1 billion yuan. This was an astronomical figure for everyone. However, Kaiyankun Building actually belonged to Lin Fan. Li Lanyuan was filled with endless regret. If she had known that Lin Fan was so rich, she would have taken off her clothes and slept with him. That way, she could cling to him. She had the chance to marry into a rich family. Director Chang is right, Lin Fan said. Your company should seek to improve the quality of your employees. As the saying goes, a bad apple ruins the whole bunch. The bad apples should be cleaned up in time. Otherwise, if something really happens, it'll be too late to regret it. You have a point, Mr. Lin, Chang Kui nodded repeatedly. Xing Guangping, you're fired, he said coldly. Xing Guangping's expression changed. He had spent a lot of effort to become the manager of this company and was receiving high pay. He also often showed off in front of his relatives and friends. If he was really fired, Chen Guangping felt that the sky might fall. "Director, you can't fire me," Chen Guangping quickly shouted. "I'm protected by labor laws, I can't be fired. Also, even if Lin Fan is the owner of Kaiyankun Building, he can't just hit people. I can sue you in court." Chen Guangping stuck out his beer belly as he spoke as if he had found some confidence. Lin Fan laughed and said, "Sue me. All right, I'll wait for you to sue me. Let me think about it. Since it's a fight, I'll probably be locked up for a few days at most. Moreover, I wasn't the one who started it. Maybe I'll just be given a verbal warning." "But Chen Guangping, what if I get someone to investigate your purchase contract with Zeta Company? What will happen if we hand it over to the police?" Lin Fan asked. Chen Guangping's face turned pale. He had received a lot of rebates from his purchases, and they were huge rebates. If the police found out about it, he would probably be sentenced to more than 10 years in prison. Chen Guangping panicked and said, "I'm not going to sue you anymore. I'll leave the company now." After he finished speaking, he didn't even pack his things and ran out as if he was escaping. The farce ended just like that. Flying Heart Limited, the director's office. Chang Kui personally brewed tea for Lin Fan and said apologetically, "Mr. Lin, I'm sorry." Lin Fan did not care. "It's okay, it's just a small matter." "I heard that you used to work at our company," Chang Kui asked. "Yeah, I was just playing around as I was bored," Lin Fan said. "Mr. Lin, you're really different from the rest of us," Chang Kui said. After chatting for a while, Chang Kui finally brought up the important matter. "There are only 2 months left in Flying Heart's lease in Kaiyankun Building. I wonder when it's convenient for you to sign the contract renewal with us?" Chang Kui asked. Lin Fan said, "Oh, about that, we'll just do it according to the previous years. I'll get the property management to help us deal with it." Chang Kui's face revealed a hint of joy when he heard this. One must know that the prices of goods and rent were rising. If he were to rent his office at the same rental price, it would be a profit for him. After chatting for a while more, Lin Fan did not stay any longer. He went straight to the underground parking lot, started the Lamborghini, and drove toward the exit. Li Lanwan, who was standing in the underground parking lot, saw everything. The regret on her face became even more intense. Lin Fan was the super tycoon who drove that supercar. No wonder he said that driving a supercar was nothing special.
Eh?
Lin Fan had no way of knowing what Li Lanwan was thinking. He drove the Lamborghini and sped all the way. When Lin Fan returned to the Hilton Hotel, it was 12:00 p.m. Suddenly his phone vibrated slightly, and a red packet popped up. "Ding, congratulations, you've received 3 yuan. Ding, congratulations, you've obtained the identity card of Dragon Division's Team 10's leader.
Eh?
Ding, congratulations, you've received 999 yuan. Ding, congratulations, you've received 5,000 yuan." Very quickly a minute passed. This time Lin Fan earned a total of 50,000 yuan. He did not care about the money anymore. Lin Fan's gaze immediately landed on the words, "Dragon Division's Team 10's leader." The identity token of Dragon Division's Team 10's leader. After using it, you'll become the leader of Team 10 of the country's Dragon Division. You'll have the same rank as the city leader and enjoy other privileges. It's a special identity that will display special charms. When Lin Fan saw this, his face was filled with shock. The leader of Dragon Division's Team 10, this power was too terrifying. Lin Fan did not hesitate at all and chose to use his identity card. In an instant, an exquisitely carved dragon-shaped token appeared in his hand out of thin air. Just as Lin Fan was about to study it, his phone rang urgently. "Lil Yao, why did you call me today?" Lin Fan answered the call and asked with a smile. However, he could hear sobbing from the other end of the phone. The smile on Lin Fan's face instantly disappeared. He asked anxiously, "Lil Yao, what's wrong? Why are you crying? Did someone bully you? Hurry up and tell me. I'll definitely help you teach them a good lesson." Lin Xiaoyao sobbed and said, "B brother, Dad is unwell and is bleeding a lot."
Buzz.
The moment she said that, Lin Fan felt as though a huge boulder had smashed into his heart. It was extremely painful. It was suffocating. Lin Fan hurriedly asked, "Lil Yao, tell me, why is Dad bleeding so much? How is he now?" 2 days ago, Dad suddenly vomited blood while eating. Then, the ambulance took him to the hospital. Yesterday, the doctor said that there's a tumor in Dad's stomach. Lin Xiaoyao could not help but start crying. Brother, what should we do? I'm so scared. Lin Fan consoled her. Dad will be fine. Lil Yao, don't worry, I'll be back soon. After hanging up the call with his sister, Lin Xiaoyao, Lin Fan dialed his mother, Dai Weixu's phone number. The call was connected after a long while. Lil Fan, why are you calling? Dai Weixu's hoarse voice came through the phone. How's Dad? Lin Fan asked. Has the surgery started? Lil Yao told you that, right? This girl, I've already told her not to tell you. Dai Weixu chided her. Lil Fan, don't worry about it. Everything will be fine after your dad's surgery. Lin Fan said, Mom, I just transferred some money to your bank card. You have to find the best doctor for Dad. I'm going back from Jiangbei now. In fact, even if there was no news of his father's illness, Lin Fan had already planned to make a trip home. After she hung up, Dai Weixu's phone vibrated. Notice from Merchant Bank, 50 million yuan has been deposited into your account. Dai Weixu looked at the long string of zeros on her phone screen and was completely stunned. After Lin Fan hung up, he was not in the mood to eat. He went straight to the underground parking lot. As the engine roared, the Lamborghini dashed out like a wild beast. In the past, when he was driving, Lin Fan would always maintain a constant speed and drive slowly. The way he was driving did not seem like he was driving a supercar at all but an ordinary car. However, today, Lin Fan was not as gentle. He was nearly drilling through the air and continuously accelerating. It caused a deep rumble to ring out on the streets from time to time. When Lin Fan got on the highway, he was like a fish in the water and was without any restraints. He continued to accelerate. With his professional driving skills and the support of absolute focus, he was able to reach the maximum speed. Lin Fan wanted to rush to his parents' side in the shortest time possible.
They,
A beautiful woman in a blue dress was driving a red Ferrari on the highway. At this moment, she suddenly heard the roar of an engine in the distance. Through the rearview mirror, the beauty in the blue dress saw a silver-gray Lamborghini closing in on her. Her gem-like eyes immediately lit up and her thin, willow leaf-like lips curled up slightly. Immediately after, her fair, beautiful legs stepped on the accelerator.
boom.
Instantly, the fiery red Ferrari let out a beast-like roar and accelerated. A race began. One could not judge a book by its cover, and the sea could not be measured. Although the blue-dressed beauty looked quiet, no one would have thought that she had a heart as hot as the sun and driving skills that challenged the limits of speed. However, it was a pity that she met Lin Fan today. No matter how fast the lady in the blue dress sped up, Lin Fan was able to close the distance between them bit by bit. In the end, Lin Fan made a turn and swept past the beauty in the blue dress with a strong gust of wind. The beauty in the blue dress caught a glimpse of Lin Fan's figure through the window. Then she could only see the tail lights of the car that was speeding away. ALF 666, I hope to meet you again soon, the beauty in the blue dress said softly.
They,
Lin Fan did not take the race earlier to heart. He continued to move forward at his fastest speed. Jiangbei was not far from Qing City. Not long after, he arrived at the Central Hospital of Qing City. He pushed open the door to the ward and saw his father Lin Tao lying on the bed. He was breathing with the aid of an oxygen mask with difficulty. His wrinkled face was pale. Lin Fan's heart was in pain.
creak creak.
At this moment, the door of the ward opened. His mother Dai Weixu walked in. Lil Fan, you're back so soon, Dai Weixu was shocked. Lin Fan made a shushing gesture, indicating for them to go out and talk so as not to disturb his father's rest.
In the corridor.
Mom, how's Dad's condition? Lin Fan asked. At the start, Dai Weixu hid it from Lin Fan because she did not want him to worry. Now that Lin Fan knew that Lin Tao had fallen ill, there was no need to hide it anymore. There's a tumor in your father's stomach. After we pay the fees, we should be able to arrange for the surgery within these 2 days. Dai Weixu's eyes were slightly red as she said this. By the way, you still haven't told me what that 5 million is all about. When Lin Tao fell ill, Dai Weixu felt as if the entire sky was falling down, but she gritted her teeth and endured it all. For the past 2 days, she had been taking care of Lin Tao and borrowing money from people everywhere. However, the surgery required a huge sum of money, and Dai Weixu couldn't raise enough in such a short time. Today, Lin Fan suddenly sent over 5 million bucks, making Dai Weixu both surprised and happy. However, she did not dare to pay the surgery fees immediately. Lin Fan was just an ordinary worker. Where did he get such a large sum of money? Dai Weixu was worried that he was taking the wrong path. If she were to use this sum of money and it ended up harming Lin Fan, then it would be too late for regrets. Lin Fan said, "Mom, don't worry, this is the money I earned from investing in stocks and buying Bitcoin. Moreover, this is only a small part of it. Our family is no longer short of money." Regarding the system, Lin Fan did not intend to tell anyone about it. This included his parents and sister. It was not that Lin Fan did not trust his parents and sister. The main thing was that even if he told them, they would not believe him. It would only add to their troubles. Dai Weixu had also heard that people could become rich overnight by buying stocks and Bitcoin. Therefore, when she heard Lin Fan's words, she heaved a sigh of relief in her heart. Then she looked at Lin Tao, who was lying in the ward bed with an extremely worried look. After a moment, she said in a hoarse voice, "I'll go and pay the fee first." Lin Gan said, "Mom, sit and rest, I'll go." The hospital was never short of patients, and there was a long queue at the payment window. At this moment, a group of doctors in white coats and a few middle-aged men in white shirts who exuded a superior aura walked in together. Behind them were a few professional reporters with microphones in their hands and video cameras on their shoulders. The tall and thin man standing beside Lin Fan said in shock, "There's even a camera, what's that for?" The shorter man said, "No way, didn't you see the news? The man with the glasses is a big leader in the city." Heavens, a big leader from the city came to visit the hospital. Doesn't that mean we can also appear on TV today? The tall, thin man said excitedly. Lin Fan heard the conversation between the two of them and his eyes flickered slightly. He walked up with large strides. The city's leader was surrounded by guards, and ordinary people could not get close at all. However, Lin Fan was no ordinary person. He easily bypassed the guards and came to the leader. "And you are," the leader was a little confused. Lin Fan took out the dragon-shaped token from his pocket and said, "Leader, do you have time to talk in private?" The pupils of the leader, who was originally calm, shrank slightly. He had seen the dragon-shaped token once before and was very clear on what it represented. He hurriedly nodded and said, "Of course, you can." Then he turned to the bald doctor and asked, "Director Huang, can you find us a quiet place?" Sure, head this way please," Director Huang said. Soon, Director Huang brought the two of them to a spacious meeting room. "Director Huang, you should stay too," Lin Fan said. "All right," Director Huang replied. The three sat down. Lin Fan did not beat about the bush and said directly, "I'm actually looking for you this time because I have a personal matter that I need your help with." When the leader heard this, not only was he not angry, but he also felt a sense of joy. Even though Lin Fan's level was similar to his, the special privileges he had far exceeded his. If he could help Lin Fan, he could improve their relationship. In the eyes of the leader, this was definitely a great thing. Even though he could still arrange for his father's surgery after paying the fee, Lin Fan understood that every operation had its risks. He had to find the best doctor for his father to minimize the risk. 2 days ago, my dad was admitted to the hospital because he has a tumor in his stomach. So I want to ask if you know any experts in this area, Lin Fan said. Filial piety is the most important virtue, the leader praised him. For the sake of your father's health, you're busy running about. It's rare, truly rare. I've always admired people who are filial to their parents like you. My name is Zhao Jiaki. I'm a little older than you. If you don't mind, you can call me Old Zhao. Director Huang's heart trembled when he heard this. He had guessed that Lin Fan's identity was not normal. Otherwise, Zhao Jiaki would not have postponed his plan to visit the hospital and met with him alone. However, Director Huang did not expect Lin Fan's identity to be so terrifying. The big leader Zhao Jiaqi told Lin Fan to address him as Old Zhao.
This.
It was beyond his imagination. I think I'll just call you Brother Zhao. Oh right, I'm Lin Fan. All right, then I'll call you Little Brother Lin, Zhao Jiaqi said happily. After a pause, Zhao Jiaqi continued, Is Uncle Lin in the Central Hospital of Qing City? Director Huang is just beside you so you can tell him about Uncle Lin's situation first. Thus Lin Fan explained the general situation. I'll ask the specialists from the oncology department to hold a meeting right away, Director Huang said immediately. Not long after, several doctors came to the meeting room with documents. They already knew that Lin Fan's identity was not ordinary. After carefully looking through Lin Tao's medical report, they finally gave a suggestion. Mr. Lin's tumor was discovered quite late. It'll be more dangerous if we use conventional surgery. Moreover, even if we succeed, it might have a certain impact on his future life. When Lin Fan heard that, he frowned. What if he's transferred to another hospital in the capital city? Zhao Jiaqi asked. With Mr. Lin's current condition, I'm afraid he can't handle such a long journey, a doctor said. The atmosphere in the meeting room became heavy. At this moment, the doctor with gold-rimmed glasses said, If Department Director Li Quan from the Jinbei Medical Association uses his surgical technique to perform this surgery, the danger and the subsequent impact can be minimized. All the doctors nodded in agreement. Normally, doctors would rarely admit that their medical skills were inferior to others in public. However, at this moment, they could not care so much. The doctor with the gold-rimmed glasses continued, Also, as far as I know, Director Li Quan went to the Jiangbei Association for a meeting yesterday. When Zhao Jiaqi heard this, he finally smiled and said, Since that's the case, things will be easy. I'm quite familiar with the Jinbei Association of Sciences, so I should be able to get Director Li Quan to come to Qing City. Then I'll have to trouble you, Brother Zhao, Lin Fan said solemnly. It's no trouble at all. I'm very happy to be able to help you a little, Zhao Jiaqi said. He was definitely not spouting nonsense. Zhao Jiaqi had wanted to befriend Lin Fan. Now that he had the chance to help, he was naturally happy. Then, Zhao Jiaqi made a call to the old dean of Jinbei Medical Association. After some discussion, he finally asked the other party to invite Li Quan to Qing City for surgery. Li Quan gave him a lot of face. Not long after, he called and said that he would come to Qing City tomorrow morning. With all the arrangements in place, Lin Fan heaved a sigh of relief. At this moment, a middle-aged man in a white shirt slowly walked in with an exquisite fruit basket. Little brother Lin, with Director Li Quan's help, Uncle Lin will definitely be fine. Shall we go and visit Uncle Lin now? Zhao Jiaqi said. All right, Lin Fan said. In the ward. Although Lin Tao's complexion was still poor, he had already regained consciousness. Dai Weixu was using a hot towel to wipe Lin Tao's forehead. Did you just say that Lil Fan is back? Asked Lin Tao. Yes, and he's doing very well now. He paid a large sum of money for your surgery, so you just need to recuperate in peace, Dai Weixu said. When Lin Tao heard this, not only did he not feel happy, but he frowned and said, A large sum of money? He didn't do anything illegal, did he?
Creak.
Dai Weixu was about to explain when the door was pushed open. Then Lin Fan, Zhao Jiaqi, Director Huang, and a large group of doctors walked in. Lin Fan looked at Lin Tao, who was sitting on the bed, and said excitedly, Dad, you're awake. Yes, I just woke up, Lin Tao said. Then he looked at Zhao Jiaqi, Director Huang, and the others with a puzzled look. Especially when he saw Zhao Jiaqi, the doubt on Lin Tao's face deepened. He had a feeling that he had seen Zhao Jiaqi somewhere before. Lin Fan introduced, This is the leader of Qing City, Zhao Jiaqi. This is the director of the Central Hospital of Qing City, Director Huang. Hearing this, Lin Tao's turbid eyes immediately widened. City leader. That was right. He was the big city leader. He often saw him speaking on the Qing City's news channel. Now the figure had actually appeared in front of him. He came to the hospital to visit him personally. Zhao Jiaqi walked to the hospital bed and asked softly, Uncle Lin, how do you feel now? Uncle Lin. Not only did the leader of Qing City come to the hospital to visit him, but he also called him Uncle Lin. Lin Tao hurriedly said, great leader, you can just call me Lin Tao, I'm in good health, very good health. He was so excited that he was incoherent. His originally pale face even had a rare flush of red due to excitement. How can I do that? You're Lin Fan's father, so we can't mess up the seniority, Zhao Jiaqi said. In fact, Zhao Jiaqi was a few years older than Lin Tao. However, as he said, the seniority could not be messed up. He did not dare to directly call Lin Tao by his name. He paused for a moment before continuing. Don't worry, Uncle Lin, little brother Lin Fan has already arranged for the best doctor for you. He'll definitely be able to make your body recover. Also, if you feel uncomfortable anywhere, you must tell us. Don't worry, I'll be fine, Lin Tao said with a smile. Then, Director Huang went up to greet him and personally helped Lin Tao carry out a more detailed examination. After a round of small talk, they expressed that they wanted Lin Tao to rest more and left. Lin Tao looked at the room full of exquisite fruit baskets, and his grin almost reached the back of his ears. Seeing Lin Tao so happy, Lin Fan was also very happy. Lil Fan, how did you get to know such a big figure? Lin Tao could not help but ask. Lin Fan made up an excuse and said, maybe he knows that I'm investing in stocks. I've made a lot of money by buying Bitcoin, so perhaps he wants me to invest in Qing City. Oh, I see, Lin Tao nodded. If the conditions allow, we can make some investments in Qing City. Dad, don't worry, no matter what, Qing City is my hometown. When the time is right, I'll definitely help my hometown with the development, Lin Fan said. At this moment, Dai Weixu's phone vibrated. She looked at the message and said, Lil Yao said that she'll come to the hospital after school. She asked us if we need anything. Lin Fan said, Lil Yao's gonna get off school. It's not easy to get a taxi at this time. I'll go pick her up. Then he walked out of the ward. Dai Weixu had wanted to ask, when did you buy a car? However, when she thought about the 5 million bucks that Lin Fan had transferred to her. In fact, even the leader of Qing City was calling him little brother in order to get investment. In that case, it seemed normal for him to have a car. Dai Weixu looked at Lin Tao's happy expression and smiled. You're not worried about your son going astray now, are you? Not at all, Lin Tao said. What a joke, even the leader of Qing City had to call his son little brother. How could he take the wrong path? Qing City No. 1 High School was one of the key high schools in Qing City. The most outstanding students in the entire Qing City were gathered here. After the school bell rang, a large group of young students with backpacks on their backs walked out full of youth and ambition. They were either discussing difficult math problems or talking about exam questions. Lin Fan immediately spotted Lin Xiaoyao in the crowd. She had her hair tied up in a ponytail and she stood there elegantly. At the same time, Lin Xiaoyao also saw Lin Fan and ran up to him. Lin Fan pinched Lin Xiaoyao's face and said, remember to eat more every day. If you lose weight, it'll be unpleasant to pinch. Brother, Lin Xiaoyao protested. Let's go to the hospital, Lin Fan said with a smile. As he spoke, he opened the door of the Lamborghini and got in. Brother, this car is weird, Lin Xiaoyao said stunned. Lin Xiaoyao did not know much about cars, but she knew that sports cars were very expensive. Any one of them would probably cost millions. Lin Fan said, I've been speculating in stocks and Bitcoin for the past 2 years. I've made a lot of money, so I bought this car. After lying a few times, Lin Fan no longer had any hesitation when doing it. Brother, you're too amazing, Lin Xiaoyao exclaimed. After saying that, Lin Xiaoyao scuttled into the car like a little monkey. Then she touched all the corners. Her bright black eyes were full of excitement and curiosity. Not long after, the two of them returned to the hospital. At this time, Lin Tao had already been arranged to the VIP ward. It was a spacious and clean ward with a separate bathroom. Overall, it did not look like a ward at all but a luxury suite in a hotel. In addition, there were also nurses and care workers in the VIP ward. They provided the best service throughout the whole process. Staying here did not feel like staying in the hospital at all. It was more like he was here to enjoy life. Wow, Lin Xiaoyao exclaimed, this ward is so good." Lin Tao's sallow face was full of smiles as he said, "Lil Yao, you don't know this, but the leader of Qing City, the hospital director and the chief physicians all came to see me. And the leader of Qing City even called me uncle." This was definitely the peak of Lin Tao's life. When he saw his daughter, he could not help but want to brag. "Look at how smug you are, it's all thanks to Lil Fan," Dai Weixu laughed. "Brother, you know the leader of Qing City, the leader was here to visit Dad." Lin Xiao's eyes widened. Even though she knew that her brother was amazing when she sat in the Lamborghini just now, she did not expect Lin Fan to be so influential. In Lin Xiao's eyes, the leader of Qing City was a true big shot. Such a big shot actually came to visit their father because of her brother and even called their father uncle. Lin Tao was very satisfied with his daughter's surprised expression and said proudly, "Of course. Moreover, the leader of Qing City has invited an expert from Jinbei Medical Association to perform the surgery for me tomorrow." "Really, that's great," Lin Xiao called out happily. The family was very happy to be reunited. They were not as sad as they were when they first found out about the tumor. "Big brother, you're so amazing," Lin Xiao cheered. However, she seemed to have thought of something and said with great self-blame, "If I hadn't fallen sick back then and caused you to miss the college entrance examination and lose the chance to go to college, perhaps you would have been better off." Lin Fan smiled and touched Lin Xiao's face. "We don't know that for sure. It's precisely because I entered society early that I'm able to earn so much money and get to know big leaders. If I had taken the college entrance examination and gone to college, I might not have found a job yet. Besides, I've been specially admitted to Jiangbei University," Lin Fan laughed. "Even if I had taken the college entrance exam back then, I might not have been able to get into such a good school." Jiangbei University was one of the top 10 universities in the country. Lin Fan's grades back then were indeed not bad. However, if he wanted to get into Jiangbei University, he had to perform well. "Brother, are you saying that you're studying at Jiangbei University now?" Lin Xiao was shocked. "How can it be fake? The dean of Jiangbei University's School of Mathematics personally recruited me," Lin Fan said. All right.
That's great."
Lin Tao and Dai Weixu both shouted happily. All parents hoped that their children could study and go to college. They were both very regretful that Lin Fan did not go to college. Now that Lin Fan had been specially admitted to Jiangbei University, it was definitely good news for them.
Eh?
Although there was a separate nurse in the VIP ward to take care of Lin Tao's condition was very serious. Lin Fan rented a bed for the night and stayed beside Lin Tao. At midnight, Lin Fan's phone vibrated. "Notice from Merchant Bank, 700,000 yuan has been deposited into your account."
The next day,
Dai Weixu brought breakfast over early in the morning. After breakfast, the family started to chat in the hospital. When a ray of warm sunlight shone through the window and onto the bed, the leader, Zhao Jiaqi, and a large group of doctors came into the ward. Zhao Jiaqi pointed at the doctor of medium build beside him and introduced, "Little brother Lin, this is Director Li Quan." "Director Li, thank you for coming all the way here from Jiangbei," Lin Fan said. "You're too kind, Mr. Lin," said Li Quan with a smile. "It's my duty as a doctor to save people." Even though Lin Fan looked very young, even the leader of Qing City had to treat him with some respect, so Li Quan did not dare to be arrogant. Zhao Jiaqi walked to the bed and asked with concern, "Uncle Lin, how are you feeling today?" "I feel much better now," Tao Lin replied. Zhao Jiaqi said, "That's good." Then Li Quan walked to the bed and examined Tao Lin's body. He then carefully read the medical records. "Mr. Lin, you're doing well. I'll be able to perform the surgery for you later. Don't worry, it'll be over soon and you'll be healthy again." All right, Lin Tao responded. Under everyone's gaze, Lin Tao was pushed into the operating room. Originally, Zhao Jiaqi wanted to leave after Lin Tao's surgery. However, as the leader of Qing City, he had too many things to deal with. Zhao Jiaqi had to leave the hospital in advance after receiving an emergency call. Time passed by. In the blink of an eye, it was 12 o'clock. Lin Fan's phone vibrated. A red packet had appeared. Ding, congratulations, you've received 2,000 yuan. Ding, congratulations, you've received 5 yuan.
Eh?
Ding, congratulations, you've received 10,000 yuan. Ding, congratulations, you've obtained 51% of Yinshin Group's shares. When Lin Fan received the red packet, he paused for a moment. Yinshin Group. If he remembered correctly, Yinshin Group's subsidiary companies included Yinshin Shopping Center, Yinshin Gold, and other companies. Their market value was definitely above 10 billion. He now owned 51% of Yinshin Group's shares. Would that not mean that he would instantly gain billions in assets? It was this moment of daze that made the time reach 12:01 p.m. However, Lin Fan did not feel that it was a pity. With this 51% of shares, getting fewer red packets meant nothing.
Creak creak.
At this moment, the door of the operating room slowly opened. Li Quan and a few doctors dragged their tired bodies out. Director Li, how's Lin Tao? Dai Weixu asked nervously. The surgery was very successful. He should be fine after staying in the hospital for a while, Li Quan said. All right, thank you so much. Dai Weixu was extremely excited. Even though she already knew that Li Quan was an expert with high medical skills and could treat Lin Tao, Dai Weixu's heart was still hanging in the air during this time. She was not able to sleep at all last night. After all, there were risks and accidents in any surgery. It was only now that her heart settled down. Can I go and see Lin Tao? Dai Weixu asked. Mr. Lin just finished his surgery, Li Quan said. He's asleep now, it's best to let him rest for a while. All right, Dai Weixu responded. When Lin Tao opened his eyes, it was already night. Dad, you're awake? After school, Lin Xiaoyao, who had rushed straight to the hospital, called out happily. Xiaoyao, lower your voice, Dai Weixu chided in a low voice. Lin Tao, do you feel uncomfortable anywhere? She asked softly. Dad, how do you feel? Lin Fan asked. I'm feeling pretty good, Lin Tao shook his head. When they heard this, they were all even happier.
Eh?
On the other hand, in the chairman's office of Yinshin Group, Song Zhaifeng read the information in front of him several times and sighed. In the beginning, for the sake of development, a large number of shares flowed into the market. And now, this Mr. Lin Fan has actually acquired 51% of Yinshin Group's shares. Song Zhaifeng's face was filled with regret as he said this. With 51% of the shares, he was undoubtedly the largest shareholder. Yinshin Group was a business empire that Song Zhaifeng had established. Now, it was no longer under his control. How could he not regret it? Song Zhaifeng hesitated for a long time before he finally dialed the number on the information. Hello, Mr. Lin, I'm Song Zhaifeng, the chairman of Yinshin Group, Song Zhaifeng said carefully. Lin Fan's deep voice came from the phone. Oh, what's the matter? Lin Fan quickly thought of the 51% shares he had obtained from Yinshin Group in the afternoon. Hence, he was not too surprised when Song Zhaifeng called. You're the biggest shareholder of Yinshin Group. Do you have any instructions for the group's future development? Song Zhaifeng asked. Just do as you did in the past, Lin Fan said. Develop well, I'll only hold the company's shares. Lin Fan had no interest in the development of Yinshin Group. If he could, he wanted to sell all his shares immediately. Unfortunately, all the items he obtained from the system were prohibited from being traded. Song Zhaifeng's face lit up with joy. All right, we'll definitely transfer the dividends to your account on time. Song Zhaifeng was very afraid that the company's largest shareholder would command the company at will. If he only wanted to get dividends, it would definitely be good news for him, extremely good news.
Eh?
In the next few days, Lin Fan stayed in the hospital to take care of Lin Tao. He also had the doctor use the best medicine to help Lin Tao's body recover. Just the cost of nursing alone would cost tens of thousands of yuan a day. Lin Tao's health and complexion were getting better day by day. He could even get out of bed and walk. For the past few days, Lin Fan only received cash from the red packets that appeared at noon. On top of that, he also received the cash earned from breathing, walking, and sleeping. Lin Fan's account balance had an additional 3 million. Name Lin Fan. Level LV4. Level 4 reward, 10 yuan for every breath, 10 yuan for every second of sleep, 10 yuan for every step taken. Rewards are distributed at 12 a.m. daily. Upgrade cost, 750,000 10 million, not including gifts and gambling. In addition, all items obtained from the system are prohibited from being traded. Skills, professional driving skills, charming aura, 5% chance to trigger love at first sight and unforgettable love, violent aesthetics, drinking gentleman, absolute focus, 5% chance to trigger a flash of inspiration, professor-level mathematics experience. Funds 10.3 million. It was obvious that the 5 million that Lin Fan had transferred to Dai Weixu a few days ago had not been included in his budgeting. However, Lin Fan did not mind at all. Dai Weixu peeled an apple for Lin Tao and said, "It's the weekend today and it's rare for Lil Yao to have some rest time. Lil Fan. Take Lil Yao out to play." "Yeah, you guys should go out and play, my body is fine now. You guys are making the ward stuffy," Lin Tao said. Lin Fan felt that his father's words made sense. "Then let's go out for a walk," he nodded. "All right," Lin Xiaoyao said happily. When she knew her father had fallen sick, Lin Xiaoyao was very sad and scared. Now her father was fine. Lin Xiaoyao, who was naturally active, felt a little uncomfortable staying in the ward. Lin Fan looked at Lin Xiaoyao's slightly dull clothes and said, "Lil Yao, let's go buy some clothes first. Which mall is the best in Qing City? Don't try to save money for me." "Yinshan Mall," Lin Xiaoyao said happily. In the past, Lin Xiaoyao would never have gone to Yinshan Mall to buy clothes. The clothes there were indeed beautiful, but they were also relatively expensive. Now Lin Xiaoyao did not have so many concerns. After all, Lin Fan was driving a sports car that was worth millions. Lin Xiaoyao did not feel any burden at all by the idea of using Lin Fan's money to buy a few expensive clothes. As an older brother, should he not be spending money on his younger sister? Moreover, Lin Fan had also told her not to hesitate. When Lin Fan heard Lin Xiaoyao's words, he gave her a weird look. Yinshan Mall. Strictly speaking, this seemed to be his own business. Going to my own mall to buy clothes. All right, let's go to Yinshan Mall, Lin Fan smiled. Although Lin Xiaoyao had already sat in the Lamborghini when she sat in it again, her face was still full of curiosity. She could not help looking around. Yinshan Mall was not far from the central hospital of Qing City. In a short 10 minutes, Lin Fan arrived at his destination. Lin Fan first bought 2 cups of milk tea, then he and Lin Xiaoyao leisurely strolled around the mall. It had to be said that the cost of living in a fourth-tier city like Qing City was very low. In the entire Yinshan Mall, there wasn't even a single piece of clothing that cost more than 10,000 yuan. Earlier, Lin Xiaoyao had indeed wanted to buy a few pieces of clothing without any qualms. However, when she arrived at Yinshan Mall, she hesitated again when she saw that the clothes were several times more expensive than usual. Lin Xiaoyao browsed through one clothing store after another. She decided that she had to buy clothes that were both pretty and cheap. With this goal in mind, Lin Xiaoyao became more and more excited and happy as she strolled. She was happy, but Lin Fan was suffering. Even though Lin Fan had the skill of violence aesthetics which greatly strengthened his body, his legs still felt weak after an hour of shopping. When he walked into another clothing store, Lin Fan took the shopping bags and sat on a chair to rest. He let Lin Xiaoyao choose the clothes and try them on. Lin Xiaoyao picked up a beautiful dress and turned to walk toward the changing room. However, behind her, a couple had appeared without her knowing. Bang! Lin Xiaoyao ran into the woman who had heavy makeup on, and the milk tea spilled on her. I'm sorry, Lin Xiaoyao hurriedly apologized and took out a tissue to wipe the milk tea off the woman's body. The woman with heavy makeup was like a roaring tiger as she cursed, "Do you not have eyes? I just bought these clothes." As she spoke, the woman with heavy makeup raised her hand and slapped Lin Xiaoyao's face. Slap! A loud slap reverberated in the clothing store. In an instant, a clear handprint appeared on Lin Xiaoyao's face. The woman with heavy makeup had not vented her anger and pushed Lin Xiaoyao hard. Thud! Lin Xiaoyao was already a little dazed from the slap, and with her petite body she fell to the ground instantly. Beside her, the man in Armani clothes said sternly, "How dare you dirty my girlfriend's clothes? You must be blind." As he spoke, he kicked Lin Xiaoyao, who was on the ground.
Bang!
However, this kick was blocked by Lin Fan. Lin Fan had seen it when the woman with heavy makeup hit Lin Xiaoyao. He wanted to stop her, but he was too far away. Even for Lin Fan, he could not get there in time. The man saw that he was stopped and shouted angrily, "Who the hell are you? You actually dare to stop me?"
Bang!
Lin Fan did not reply at all. He raised his leg and kicked the man a few meters away. He hit the wall in the distance and made a deep sound. Lin Fan first helped Lin Xiaoyao up and asked with concern, "Lil Yao, are you all right?" At that moment, Lin Xiaoyao's left cheek was already slowly swelling. She sobbed silently, and tears kept falling down like raindrops. Lin Xiaoyao sobbed and shook her head. "It's fine, I'm fine." This couple did not look like they were easy to deal with, and she did not want to cause trouble for Lin Fan. Lin Fan looked at Lin Xiaoyao's pitiful face and his heart burned with anger. "Lil Yao, don't worry, I'll definitely make them pay the price." After saying that, Lin Fan turned around and stared at the woman with heavy makeup with a pair of cold and sharp eyes. The woman with heavy makeup had not even recovered from the shock of seeing her boyfriend getting kicked when Lin Fan suddenly stared at her. She did not know why, but she could not help but shiver. She slowly took 2 steps back and said, "What do you want to do?" "Apologize," Lin Fan said coldly. At the same time, he slapped the woman's face.
Slap!
In an instant, one side of the woman's face immediately swelled up, and one side of her eyeliner cracked. "Apologize." After pausing for 2 seconds, Lin Fan shouted again and slapped the woman's face once more.
Slap!
Suddenly, the woman's entire face turned red and swollen. The eyeliner on her second eye also cracked. "Apologize." Lin Fan hollered once more as he gave her a third slap.
Slap!
Not only did the force of the slap not decrease, but it also became even stronger. The woman with heavy makeup fell to the ground and spat out a mouthful of teeth mixed with blood. Instantly, the woman's face swelled up like a pig's head. The woman with heavy makeup on the ground trembled in fear when she saw that Lin Fan was about to hit her again. She knelt on the ground and cried out in fear, I'm sorry, I was wrong." She was completely scared of being beaten, and her tears and snot were flowing freely. "You shouldn't be apologizing to me," Lin Fan said. The woman with heavy makeup quickly kowtowed to Lin Xiaoyao and said, "I'm sorry, it's my fault, it's all my fault. I shouldn't have hit you and I shouldn't have pushed you." At that moment, the staff members were already hiding in a corner, not daring to make a sound. Lin Xiaoyao was also shocked by the state the woman was in. "Brother, why don't we just forget about it?" At this moment, the man in Armani clothes got up from the ground. He held his stomach and pointed at Lin Fan. "You've got guts, you really have the guts. No one has ever dared to hit me like this. If you dare, just wait here." After saying that, the man took out his phone and quickly made a call. "Brother Wei, it's Pan Jingyang," the man said. "Oh Jingyang, what's the matter?" Chen Wei's relaxed voice came from the phone. "Brother Wei, my girlfriend Sun Ziohong and I were beaten up in front of KK clothing store in Yinshan Mall. Hurry up and bring some people over to help us." Pan Zhengyang went straight to the point. "What?" Chen Wei shouted. "There's someone who dares to hit you in my territory. Tell him to wait, I'll bring people over immediately." What a rebel. Pan Zhengyang was Chen Wei's younger cousin. If it was just Pan Zhengyang who was beaten up, Chen Wei would not have been so angry. However, since this involved Sun Ziohong, it was a different story. This was because Chen Wei was the department manager of Qing City's Yinshan Mall. Sun Ziohong's father was the chairman of Jiaxing Snacks Company. Every year, Jiaxing Snacks Company would give Chen Wei a large sum of money to allow their family's snacks to be sold at the supermarket of Yinshan Mall. It could be said that Sun Ziohong's father was Chen Wei's god of fortune. Now that the daughter of the god of fortune had been beaten up in Yinshan Mall, Chen Wei was naturally extremely angry. After hanging up the phone, Chen Wei quickly gathered more than 30 security guards and walked toward KK clothing store in an aggressive manner. Lin Fan did not care about Pan Xingyang calling for help. That was because Lin Fan had the skill of violence aesthetics. Even if he had to deal with 100 people, he would have no problem at all. Today, Lin Fan was going to teach the person who bullied his sister a lesson. Lin Ziya wanted to persuade Lin Fan to leave. However, Lin Fan just sat down without any intention of moving. Lin Ziya recalled Pan Zhengyang's call, and the worry and fear in her heart surged. After a moment of hesitation, Lin Ziya quietly walked to a corner and called the police. Chen Wei had worked at Yinshan Mall for several years, so he was extremely familiar with everything here. After a while, he led a large group of security guards and arrived at the door of KK clothing store. When Pan Zhengyang saw them from afar, he waved at them and shouted, "Brother Wei, over here, I'm here." As he spoke, he looked at Lin Fan with an extremely cold gaze. It was as if he was saying, "Kid, you're gonna die later." Sun Zioheng's face was swollen like a pig's head, but when she saw so many people, she became more confident. She pointed at Lin Fan and shouted, "It's him, he hit me. Brother Wei, quickly help me teach him a lesson." When Chen Wei saw Sun Zioheng's miserable appearance, he was slightly shocked as well. He made a guarantee, saying, "Zioheng, don't worry, I'll definitely teach him a lesson for you." Then Chen Wei viciously said to Lin Fan, "Brat, how dare you cause trouble in Yinshan Mall? I have suspicions that you're stealing from Yinshan Mall. Men, arrest him and bring him to the security room. Then, we'll wait for the investigation to be done." Chen Wei's thoughts were very simple. At this moment, there were many people in Yinshan Mall. He definitely couldn't teach Lin Fan a lesson in front of everyone. Otherwise, he would be in trouble. As long as he found a reason to bring Lin Fan to the security room, he would be able to do whatever he wanted to him. Lin Fan glanced at the security guards at the scene, and a strange look appeared on his face. Originally, he had planned to teach the people the other party had called over a lesson. However, these security guards were all from Yinshan Mall. Did that not mean that they were his own employees? At that thought, Lin Fan took out his phone and dialed a string of numbers. Chen Wei saw Lin Fan making a call and said in disdain, "Calling for help? Heh, I'd like to see who'll dare to help someone who caused trouble and stole things in Yinshan Mall." All the security guards stopped their actions of grabbing Lin Fan. They seemed to want to see Lin Fan make a fool of himself. In the meeting room of Yinshan Group's headquarters, the chairman, Song Zhaifeng, was having a high-level meeting with the company's general manager, director, and other senior executives. At that moment, Song Zhaifeng's phone vibrated. Song Zhaifeng frowned slightly. He hated to be interrupted by phone calls during meetings. He picked up his phone and was about to hang up. However, when he saw the caller ID, his pupils shrank slightly. Song Zhaifeng answered the call without any hesitation. "Hello, Mr. Lin, what's the matter?" Song Zhaifeng said carefully. "I'm surrounded by dozens of security guards at Yinshan Mall in Qing City. They're saying that I've caused trouble and stole things at Yinshan Mall. They want to take me to the security room." After Lin Fan finished speaking, he immediately hung up the phone. Upon hearing this, a layer of cold sweat appeared on Song Zhaifeng's forehead. What did he just hear? Lin Fan was stunned to be surrounded by dozens of security guards at Yinshan Mall in Qing City. They even said that he had caused trouble. Stealing. How dare those security guards do that? One must know that Lin Fan owned 51% of Yinshan Group's shares. Not to mention causing trouble, it would be fine even if he wanted to tear down the entire Yinshan Mall. As for stealing, they should not joke around. Even if they gave Lin Fan everything in Yinshan Mall, he would probably not even care. Lin Fan only wanted the shares and dividends. He did not even ask to interfere in the operations of Yinshan Mall. However, this group of security guards actually dared to provoke him. Bastards. "A bunch of bastards," Song Zhaifeng cursed. The senior executives in the meeting room looked at each other. Song Zhaifeng never answered the phone during a meeting. Today he made an exception. Moreover, he was so careful when he answered the phone. There was even a hint of flattery in his tone. In the end, Song Jiefeng, who had never lost his temper, started to curse. Mr. Lin. Could he be the mysterious man who recently acquired 51% of the group's shares? The executives kept guessing. Song Jiefeng, on the other hand, did not care about that. He quickly turned on the laptop in front of him, searched for something, and quickly dialed the number of the general manager of Yinshan Mall in Qing City, Zhou Chengzhen.
Yeah.
After Zhou Chengzhen finished his business discussion with his client, he drove directly to the parking lot of Yinshan Mall. He was about to return to his office to handle some documents. At this moment, the phone in his pocket rang urgently. He took a casual glance at it. In the next moment, Zhou Chengzhen's pupils suddenly shrank, and his heart was beating rapidly. Zhou Chengzhen was a very meticulous person. He had already saved all the phone numbers of the company's top executives. At this moment, the call was from the chairman, Song Jiefeng. Zhou Chengzhen answered the call with great excitement. Good day, chairman. Good, my *SS, Zhou Chengzhen, how did you become the general manager? Are you doing nothing? You're simply lawless, Song Jiefeng roared. Zhou Chengzhen did not expect to be scolded. He was stunned for a few seconds before he asked in confusion, Chairman, I don't quite understand. You don't understand? Then tell me, why did dozens of security guards at Yinshan Mall frame Mr. Lin Fan, the largest shareholder of Yinshan Group, for causing trouble and stealing? They even want to capture him, Song Jiefeng shouted angrily.
Buzz.
Zhou Chengzhen felt as if a cannonball had exploded right next to his ear. He was completely dumbfounded. Recently, he had heard from some sources that a mysterious person had bought 51% of Yinshan Group's shares and become the largest shareholder. Now, the largest shareholder was being framed in the mall he managed and was about to be arrested by the security guards. This was definitely a big deal. This was a huge event. Zhou Chengzhen was extremely flustered. Chairman, there might be a misunderstanding here. I've just come back from a business meeting. I'm going to the mall now to clear things up. Hurry up and go. Remember, you have to satisfy Mr. Lin Fan. Otherwise, HMPH, Song Jiefeng grunted and hung up the phone. Zhou Chengzhen, who was originally walking leisurely toward his office in Yinshan Mall, did not dare to dally any longer. He quickly sprinted into the shopping center. Due to the high speed, Zhou Chengzhen accidentally fell to the ground. However, he did not care about his injured knee. He rolled and crawled, moving forward as fast as he could. In front of KK clothing store, Chen Wei saw that Lin Fan had hung up the phone. More and more people in Yinshan Mall were looking in their direction. He felt that he could not delay any longer, otherwise it might bring him some unnecessary trouble. Therefore, Chen Wei shouted, Men, there's no need to wait any longer. Quickly arrest this person who caused trouble and stole things and bring him to the security room. After that, we'll wait for the investigation results. When the security guards heard that, they did not stay back any longer and surrounded Lin Fan. At this time, an angry roar suddenly rang out in the distance. How dare you? I'll see who dares to make a move. When the security guards heard the familiar voice, they paused. Then they saw the general manager, Zhou Chengzhen, who often sat at the head of the table during meetings, limping over. Chen Wei did not expect that he would alert Zhou Chengzhen, and a bad premonition arose in his heart. He hurriedly went up to him and said, General Manager Zhou, what happened to you? Quickly sit down and rest. Zhou Chengzhen did not pay any attention to him. He walked straight ahead and asked carefully, May I know which one of you is Mr. Lin Fan? With both hands in his pockets, Lin Fan, who had a relaxed and calm expression the entire time, said, It's me. Zhou Chengzhen looked at Lin Fan's young appearance and was slightly shocked. However, he did not dare to underestimate him. On the contrary, the way he looked at Lin Fan was even more respectful. This was a young man in his 20s who could own 51% of Yinshan Group shares. In that case, there was probably a behemoth that he could not imagine standing behind him. Zhou Chengzhen bowed at a 90-degree angle and said, Mr. Lin, I'm sorry, I didn't manage my employees well and caused you to be pestered by them. When Chen Wei saw this, the bad premonition in his heart became even more intense. He could not help but ask, General Manager Zhou, is there a misunderstanding? This young man caused trouble in our mall and beat up the daughter of the chairman of Jiaxing Snacks Company. He even stole things. Chen Wei's thoughts were very simple. Jiaxing Snacks Company was a big enterprise that was cooperating with Yinshan Mall. Zhou Chengjun would definitely have some reservations. However, it would have been fine if Chen Wei did not mention this, but once he did, Zhou Chengjun's heart burned with anger. Zhou Chengjun suddenly turned around and said coldly, "Mr. Lin is the biggest shareholder of Yinshan Group. Do you think he'll do what you just said?" Chen Wei's entire body was completely frozen on the spot when he heard this. The biggest shareholder of Yinshan Group. He knew very well what this meant. He had rushed into a dead end. Being the manager of Yinshan Mall gave him a high salary, and it was an easy job. Chen Wei had bragged in front of his family and friends countless times. Now he was afraid that this big slice of cake would be taken away from him. Chen Wei's heart was filled with endless regret. Step. At this moment, 3 officers walked over from afar. Among them, the tall and thin one said, "Who called the police? What happened here?" Lin Xiaoyao never expected things to turn out this way. The general manager of Yinshan Mall was extremely respectful to Lin Fan. He even said that Lin Fan was the biggest shareholder of Yinshan Group. As a result, Lin Xiaoyao did not answer immediately when the officer asked the question. On the other hand, Pan Zhengyang's eyes lit up when he saw the tall and skinny officer. He said excitedly, "Wang Daming, it's great that you're here." Then he pointed at Lin Fan. "This guy beat me up for no reason, quickly arrest him." Pan Zhengyang could tell that Chen Wei was no longer able to teach Lin Fan a lesson today. Just as he was feeling disappointed, he met his high school classmate Wang Daming. This gave him hope to teach Lin Fan a lesson. At this moment, Lin Xiaoyao also reacted. She quickly said, "Officer, I was the one who called the police. My brother didn't hit him for no reason. They were the ones who hit me first. My brother fought back to protect me." Wang Daming looked in the direction Pan Zhengyang was pointing at. The next moment his pupils suddenly shrank. It was him. It was actually him. A few days ago, Wang Daming had followed the captain, the leaders, and others to visit the central hospital of Qing City. However, a young man suddenly came to the leader. After that, the leader directly gave up on the tour. After the incident, Wang Daming learned from the captain that the young man's identity was very unusual. In order to treat the man's sick relative, the leader personally extended his help. The next day, the leader even went to the hospital to visit and accompany the mysterious man's family member before he went for the surgery. A big shot. That young man was definitely a big shot. Wang Daming did not expect that he would meet this big shot again so soon. Sun Xiaohong, whose face was as swollen as a pig's head, shouted, "Hurry up and capture him! I'm Sun Xiaohong, the daughter of the chairman of Jiaxing Snacks Company. Did you see what he did to me? As long as you catch him and teach him a lesson, I'll ask my dad to reward you." They wanted him to catch a big shot that even the city leader had to be careful with. Wang Daming's face sank, and he directly took out a pair of handcuffs and cuffed Sun Xiaohong. Pan Zhengyang was stunned for a moment before he said, "Wang Daming, you're cuffing the wrong person. Why are you arresting your buddy's girlfriend? It's that bastard over there who hit us. Hurry up and capture that bastard." Bastard. Did he just call that big shot a bastard? How dare he? Furthermore, he even said that he was arresting his buddy's girlfriend. Would this not make the big shot think that they had a good relationship? "Shut up," Wang Daming shouted sternly. "Pan Zhengyang, what nonsense are you talking about? We were just ordinary high school classmates. Even if you're my good friend, I can't help you with anything. I'm an officer who maintains justice." Wang Daming pointed at Lin Xiaoyao and said, "This lady just said that you hit her first. That's why her brother retaliated. They were just defending themselves." Then Wang Daming said to Sun Xiaohong seriously, "As for you, you're suspected of bribing a public official. We'll be detaining you now." Sun Xiaohong said in a panic, I didn't do that." "No, we have video cameras that help us enforce the law," Wang Daming said. After that, he did not say anything more. He grabbed Sun Xiaohong and prepared to walk away. At this moment, Zhou Chengjun, who was standing beside them, said, "Hello, officer, I'm Zhou Chengjun, the general manager of Yinshan Mall. I have something to report." As he spoke, Zhou Chengjun pointed at Chen Wei and said, "He's the manager of Yinshan Mall, Chen Wei." He took advantage of his position and accepted bribes from Jiaxing Snacks Company. He also placed many of Jiaxing Snacks Company's inferior products for sale at Yinshan Mall. At the same time, he lured the security guards of Yinshan Mall to his personal underground forces. Just a moment ago, Chen Wei even framed this honorable Mr. Lin and tried to use violence, intimidation, and other actions on him. Wang Daming had encountered a lot of corruption and bribery cases. However, Chen Wei actually wanted to use violence and intimidation against Mr. Lin. This was absolutely unforgivable. "How dare he?" Wang Daming shouted sternly. "He's so despicable, arrest him."
Click.
Chen Wei, who was handcuffed, felt his entire body go cold. His legs went soft and he directly knelt on the ground. He knew that he was done for. Very quickly, Chen Wei, Sun Zioheng, and the security guards were all taken away. Pan Zhengyang was the only one left standing in a daze. He was not taken away. However, he was no less panicked than everyone else. Sun Zioheng and Chen Wei could be said to have been taken away because of him. If they found out that there were quality issues with Jiaxing Snacks Company's products, then he would be in deep trouble. Pan Zhengyang could not help but shiver at the thought. Zhou Chengjun wanted to treat Lin Fan to a meal to apologize. However, Lin Fan just wanted to get some medicine to apply on Lin Zioio's still red and swollen face. Thus he rejected her directly. In the Lamborghini, Lin Zioio seemed to have just snapped back to her senses and said excitedly, "Brother, when did you learn to fight? The way you taught others a lesson just now was so cool." Lin Zioio's movements were too big when she spoke, so much so that she accidentally pulled her red and swollen face. It hurt so much that her facial muscles started twitching. "Don't talk, I'll go buy you some medicine," Lin Fan said. Lin Zioio said, "Medicine? I just have to put some ice on it and I'll be fine." In the end, Lin Fan bought Lin Zioio some medicine and an ice pack. The two-pronged approach was extremely effective. When they returned to the central hospital of Qing City, Lin Zioio's face was no longer red or swollen. At that moment, Lin Fan's phone rang. "Mr. Lin, I'm really sorry for today. I'll definitely deal with the related personnel of Yinshan Mall in Qing City seriously," Song Zhaifeng said carefully. "There's no need. Zhou Chengjun did a good job, however I don't wish for such a thing to happen again in the future." "Yes, yes, Mr. Lin, please rest assured," Song Zhaifeng heaved a long sigh of relief. After hanging up, Lin Zioio could not help but ask, "Brother, are you really the biggest shareholder of Yinshan Mall?" "That's right, so in the future, as long as you like clothes, you don't have to care about the price. I, your brother, am not short of money," Lin Fan said. Lin Zioio happily kissed Lin Fan on the cheek and said, "Big brother, you're the best." When the two of them arrived at the VIP ward, Lin Tao was walking back and forth in the ward. Meanwhile, Dai Weixu was folding all the clothes and packing them in the luggage. "Mom, Dad, what are you doing?" Lin Fan asked. "I've been in the hospital for a long time," Lin Tao said. "In the past 2 days there have been a few regular customers calling to ask when our clothing store will be open again. We're getting ready to be discharged today." "You're being discharged today?" Lin Fan said worriedly. "Dad, you just had your surgery. You should stay for a few more days." Lin Tao said, "There's no need to. The doctor agreed to let me leave the hospital. If I continue to stay here, this illness will just recover, but I'll have other illnesses." Lin Fan felt that it made sense, so he thought about it and said, "You can leave the hospital, but you don't have to run the clothing store anymore. I'm planning to buy a villa in Qing City or Jiangbei for you to live in," he said. Don't, our current house is good enough. Why do we need to change to a villa?" Lin Tao waved his hands. "The clothing store doesn't take much effort, it's good to be working." "Lil Fan, we know you're doing well now and you want to be filial to us," Dai Weixu said. "However, your dad and I have lived here our entire lives and all our acquaintances are here. We won't be able to get used to it if we suddenly move to another place. Also, your dad and I aren't very old. If we really stay at home all day and do nothing, it'll be too boring. So we won't be moving, the clothing store will still be open, we'll just run it to kill time. Lin Fan said helplessly, okay then, but don't tire yourselves out, don't save on food and clothes either. Don't worry, Daiwexu smiled. For the next 3 days, Lin Fan stayed with his parents on 4th Street. For the past 3 days, Lin Fan opened red packets at noon every day. In addition to the cash he earned from sleeping, breathing, and walking for the past 3 days, he had an extra 3 million. At that moment, the balance on Lin Fan's card had returned to 13.2 million. Today, Lin Fan was driving his Lamborghini on the road back to Jiangbei after the urging of his parents. Lin Tao and Dai Weixu's reason was simple. Lin Fan had been specially recruited to study at Jiangbei University. He could not leave a bad impression on the lecturers, so he could not take such a long leave. If he was expelled because of this, then it would be too late for regrets. Lin Fan could not argue with his parents. In addition, his father's body was really fine now. Therefore, he had no choice but to return to Jiangbei. A few days ago, when Lin Fan came to Qing City, he was extremely anxious. He drove at his fastest speed and arrived in Qing City in a short time. Now that he was returning to Jiangbei, he was traveling at a constant speed. It would take a relatively long time. Lin Fan did not think much of driving a Lamborghini after he got it. However, after driving the car for a long time, he felt that his back was gradually aching. When I'm free, I'll definitely buy a bigger car, Lin Fan mumbled. When Lin Fan returned to the presidential suite of Jiangbei's Hilton Hotel, it was 12 o'clock sharp. His phone vibrated and a red packet appeared. Ding, congratulations, you've received 5,000 yuan. Ding, congratulations, you've received 10,000 yuan. Ding, congratulations, you have received 5 yuan. Ding, congratulations, you've obtained the skill Eyes of Truth. It was already 12:01. When I was in Qing City, all I had was useless cash, Lin Fan said, but I got a skill the moment I came to Jiangbei. Is Jiangbei my lucky place? As he spoke, Lin Fan turned his attention to the Eyes of Truth. Eyes of Truth 1. Ability to see a woman's true appearance, full score 100. Note, appearance is dependent on clothing and life. 2. Ability to see a female's favorability toward the host, full score of 100. Note, choosing a truly beautiful woman and obtaining her heart is what every man should do. Eyes of Truth, Lin Fan repeated, interesting. On the other hand, Kaio Shia had spent a lot of effort and finally moved all of her brother's things into Washington Palace. Then she dragged her tired body back home. At this time, his mother Chen Minfin came over excitedly and said, Shia, hurry up and pack up, you're going to meet a guy later. Mom, another blind date? Kaio Shia asked helplessly. Chen Minfin saw that her daughter seemed to be a little reluctant, so she said, this guy is different from Lin Fan. Lin Fan's family is so poor, but this guy's family runs a factory. Furthermore, his family has 2 Mercedes-Benz. At this point, Chen Minfin's face scrunched up due to her wide grin. Kaio Shia mumbled, Lin Fan's family is poor, then there would be no rich people in this world. Rich people? Shia, what are you saying? How is Lin Fan's family rich? Chen Minfin said. Hence, Kaio Shia roughly explained what had happened a while ago. Chen Minfin immediately said, Shia, you've been tricked by that brat Lin Fan. How could he have a luxury car and an entire building in Washington Palace? I know their family's situation all too well. You don't know this, but Lin Fan's father fell sick a few days ago and his mother called to borrow money. If Lin Fan's family really has that much money, why would they come to me to borrow money? Kaio Shia could not help but be a little dazed when she heard her mother's words. Lin Fan's mother really wanted to borrow money from you? She asked in disbelief. How could it be fake? As Chen Minfin spoke, she took out her mobile phone and opened her call record. As expected, one of them was Dai Weixu's number. Kaio Shia immediately understood. The Lamborghini was indeed rented by Lin Fan. Also, Lin Fan did not own a building in Washington Palace. He was just asking the employees there to help him put on an act. Lin Fan wasn't a godly tycoon at all, he was a complete pauper. The next day the sky was clear. Lin Fan lay on the bed in the presidential suite and casually looked at his phone. Notice from Merchant Bank, 730,020 yuan has been deposited into your account. He swiped the message away without a care and played with his phone for a while. Then he slowly got out of bed and asked the waiter to serve a big meal. After the meal it was 12:00 p.m. Lin Fan's phone vibrated. Red packets appeared. Ding, congratulations, you've received 5 yuan. Ding, congratulations, you've received 3,000 yuan.
Eh?
Ding, congratulations, you've received 10,000 yuan. Ding, congratulations, you've received 3 yuan. 1 minute had passed. Lin Fan received a total of 80,000 yuan. All in cash, Lin Fan's mouth twitched. He rested for a while before driving his Lamborghini to Jiangbei University. In Jiangbei University, even a BMW or Mercedes-Benz that cost 200,000 to 300,000 yuan would attract attention. Not to mention, it was a Lamborghini that was worth tens of millions. The rumbling sound of an engine on the campus immediately attracted the attention of many people. They all took out their phones, secretly took photos, and uploaded them to Taiba and their class group chats. When Lin Fan walked out of the car, the eyes of a few beautiful girls sparkled as they exclaimed in unison, "He's so handsome." He was handsome and rich, he was the perfect male god in their hearts. Lin Fan did not care about that at all. He took out his phone and dialed a string of numbers. Not long after, a man in his 30s with slick-back hair walked over. "You must be Lin Fan, right?" He smiled and greeted. "Yes, I am," Lin Fan replied. "Ha ha ha, I have another handsome young man among my students. I'm your counselor, Sun Yaedong. Let's go. I'll take you to collect your books first, then we'll go to the classroom," Sun Yaedong said. One had to admit that there was a huge difference between a university teacher and a high school teacher. High school teachers were always stern and serious, making the students feel that teachers were elders far above them. University teachers, on the other hand, gave people a more relaxed feeling. As Sun Yaedong walked, he introduced the cafeteria and stadium. He even talked about how to get a girlfriend. Lin Fan could not help but wonder if this was a teacher or a good friend. Not long after, Lin Fan collected his books and went to the classroom. Sun Yaedong pointed at the 3 people sitting in the back row and said, "Lin Fan, these 3 will be your roommates. You guys have to get along well. I still have some things to do, so I'll be leaving first." The 3 of them were very enthusiastic about their new roommate, Lin Fan. "I'm Song Yi, you're not bad, bro. You're tall and handsome. You know how to play basketball, right?" the tall and strong man asked. Lin Fan said, "I know a little, but I haven't played in a long time." "It's fine, you'll get the hang of it as we play. Besides, it's easy to attract girls by playing basketball. Maybe one day a girl will ask you for your WeChat," Song Yi laughed. The fat man said happily, "I thought there were only 3 of us in dorm 104. If that were the case, it wouldn't be a complete college life." "Brother, it's great that you're here. By the way, my name is Zhang Jinbao." The man with black-rimmed glasses said, "My name is Ma Zhang." His 3 roommates were very enthusiastic. After school, they helped Lin Fan buy his daily necessities and made his bed. They were busy until 8 p.m. Lin Fan wanted to treat them to a feast. However, the 3 of them were all excited to go to their usual place for barbecue, so Lin Fan did not force them. This was a barbecue stall very close to Jiangbei University. The boss was about 40 years old and his movements were skillful. The meat was crispy on the outside and tender on the inside. The portions were large. Zhang Jinbao directly put a skewer of roasted meat into his mouth and said happily, "Delicious." Song Yi raised his glass and said, "Lin Fan, welcome to dorm 104. From now on, the 4 of us are brothers. Today, we won't leave until we're drunk." "Right, we won't return until we're drunk," Zhang Jinbao shouted. "Lin Fan, welcome," Ma Zhang said. "Thank you," Lin Fan said as he picked up his glass. Then the 4 of them drank the alcohol in one go. Song Yi said, "Hey Lin Fan, your alcohol tolerance is pretty good. Come have another one." Lin Fan did not reject the offer and drank another glass. Then the 2 of them continued to drink. Not long after, Song Yi hiccuped, and his entire face became as red as a tomato. On the other hand, Lin Fan seemed to have just drunk a few bottles of mineral water. There was no change at all. Zhang Jinbao was surprised. Lin Fan, your alcohol tolerance is so good, I'll have a go with you. After a few glasses, Lin Fan still showed no reaction. Zhang Jinbao's head was already a little dizzy. He poked Ma Zhang's stomach and said, "Don't just think about eating, drink with Lin Fan too." Ma Zhang put down the skewers and said, "Lin Fan, let's drink together too." Originally, Lin Fan wanted to advise them to drink less. However, they were in the mood and could not stop drinking. Therefore, Lin Fan did not try to persuade them any further. After all, they were all young people. If they drank too much, they could go back and lie down for a night. The next day, they would definitely be alive and kicking again. When Zhang Jinbo, Ma Zhang, and Song Yi had drunk so much that their heads were spinning and they were about to fall to the ground, Lin Fan's expression remained the same as usual. He casually threw a skewer into his mouth. Just then, Kaio Shia, who had just finished eating with a client, happened to pass by. She looked at Lin Fan, who was drinking and eating at the roadside stall. She stopped in her tracks and sneered, "Lin Fan, why are you eating tea at a roadside stall?" Yesterday, when Chen Minfan said that Lin Fan's family was very poor, Kaio Shia still had a trace of suspicion. At this moment, she had completely thrown that doubt to the back of her mind. If Lin Fan really had a Lamborghini and an entire building in Washington Palace, why would he eat roadside barbecue? It was impossible. The only answer was that Lin Fan had always been a poor loser. "What does it have to do with you what I eat?" Lin Fan frowned. Lin Fan really hated this self-righteous and vain woman. Now that she was using a mocking tone to speak to him, Lin Fan naturally. Kaio Shia sneered and said, "It's indeed none of my business, however I want to tell you something. A person should do as much as they can with their abilities. Puffing one's chest up will only make one look ugly." Back then, when Kaio Shia found out that Lin Fan owned a Lamborghini and owned a building in Washington Palace, she was extremely regretful. In fact, she even cried herself to sleep in the days after that. Now, after Kaio Shia said these words, she felt extremely comfortable and at ease. She was happy that she was wise back then and was not deceived by a poor loser. Then Kaio Shia raised her neck and strode forward. Lin Fan looked at her back view and pouted, "She has a problem." Then he patted the three people who were completely drunk and said, "Can you still walk? Let's go back to the dormitory to rest." The next day, the sun was shining brightly. Lin Fan was lying on his bed playing with his phone. He would occasionally look at the sparrows that were flying around by the window. At this moment, Ma Zhang slowly opened his eyes. He rubbed his dizzy head and said in a hoarse voice, "Brothers, it's time to wake up." "All right," Lin Fan replied and immediately got up from the bed. "Lin Fan, I rarely admire anyone," Zhang Jinbao said. "However, I have to say that I admire you. Yesterday we drank a lot of beer, right? You actually got the three of us drunk, but you were completely fine." Lin Fan would naturally be fine. It was because he could drink 1,000 glasses without getting drunk. "Lin Fan, are you from the Northeast? You can drink so much," Song Yi said. "Northeast," Lin Fan laughed. "I'm from Qing City, all right, hurry up and get up." The few of them hesitated for a while before finally getting out of bed. It had to be said that it was good to be young. When they had just woken up, Zhang Jinbao, Ma Zhang, and Song Yi were still extremely dizzy and lightheaded. However, after breakfast, the three of them were full of energy again. In the morning, the old professor was teaching a mathematical theory class. Zhang Jinbao and Song Yi were drowsy listening to it. Ma Zhang was a good student. He listened to the class seriously and kept taking notes. Lin Fan would listen to the class and flip through his books. After the bell rang, Ma Zhang said, "Lin Fan, you just came to class. If there's anything you don't understand, you can ask me." He noticed that when Lin Fan was in class, he did not really listen to the class but kept flipping through the book. This was why he thought that Lin Fan did not understand. However, Ma Zhang did not know that the reason why Lin Fan was not listening to the class was not that he did not understand. It was because he felt that it was too simple. "That's right, Ma Zhang isn't very good in other aspects, but he's pretty good in his studies," Zhang Jinbao yawned and said. What do you mean by not good in other aspects? Ma Zhang protested. Then shall we make a trip to the clubhouse tonight? Zhang Jinbao chuckled. Ma Zhang's entire face instantly turned red. He opened his mouth but no words came out. All right, if we continue to chat, we won't even be able to squeeze into the cafeteria later, Song Yi interrupted. One had to admit that the cafeteria of Jiangbei University was very different from Lin Fan's high school. Lin Fan's high school cafeteria was similar to fast food restaurants. However, the cafeteria of Jiangbei University was completely different. Crock soup, roast goose, rice, stir-fries, roasted meat, ramen, and so on. There was a wide variety of dishes. The students of Jiangbei University also loved to eat, and there were long lines everywhere. It was now 12:00 p.m. Lin Fan's phone vibrated. A red packet had appeared. Lin Fan took advantage of the free time in the queue to tap on the screen. Ding, congratulations, you've received 5 yuan. Ding, congratulations, you've received 1,000 yuan.
Eh?
Ding, congratulations, you've received 10,000 yuan. Ding, congratulations, you've received 3 yuan. Ding, congratulations, you've obtained professional basketball technique. When he opened the last red packet, it was already 12:01 p.m. At this moment, it was Lin Fan's and the others' turn to choose the dishes. Lin Fan and the other 3 were all young men. They chose a lot of meat of many types. They all ate happily. I don't have any classes this afternoon, Song Yi said. I'm playing basketball with a few friends. Lin Fan, you should come along. Lin Fan thought that since he did not have anything to do in the afternoon and he had just received the professional basketball technique, he could use this opportunity to try it out. When Lin Fan thought about this, he nodded and said, okay. Song Yi put his hand on Lin Fan's shoulder and said happily, what a good lad. Then he recalled that Lin Fan had said that he had not played basketball for a long time. Don't worry, he said, our skills aren't that great, we just play casually. After lunch, Zhang Jinbao went back to the dormitory to sleep while Ma Zhang went to the library. Song Yi and Lin Fan bought a bottle of energy drink each and went to the basketball court. At that moment, there were already 4 men in jerseys waiting on the basketball court. A tanned, tall man greeted from afar, Song Yi, you're finally here. Let me introduce him to you, this is our new friend Lin Fan, he hasn't played basketball in a long time. Don't play too fiercely later, Song Yi said. All right, the other man said. No problem. The other 4 nodded. Then, according to the rules of street basketball, they divided the teams according to the spinning basketball. Very quickly, Lin Fan and the relatively thin men wearing the number 1 and number 3 jerseys were placed on the same team. The 2 men looked at the divided teams, their faces full of bitterness and helplessness. Their skills were not very good, and they did not have an advantage in height. And now Lin Fan, who had not played for a long time, was added to the mix. The 2 of them could already see the scene of them being beaten to a pulp. Song Yi, the tan man, and the tall and strong man were the exact opposite. The 3 of them looked at each other, and their faces almost bloomed with smiles. Don't worry, we'll just be playing casually. Very quickly, Song Yi took the ball and passed it to the tall and strong man. The tall and strong one then passed it to the big tanned one. Then the tan man quickly dribbled the ball for a layup.
Swish.
The basketball entered the net and scored. In the next round, number 1 kicked off and he was quickly followed by the tall and strong one. Helplessly, he could only pass the ball to number 3. After number 3 dribbled the ball for a while, it was intercepted by the big tanned guy. Then, the tan man dribbled the ball again and made a quick layup.
Swish.
Another goal. In the third round, number 1 started the game again. He saw that number 3 was being closely marked by the big, tanned guy. Helpless, he passed the ball to Lin Fan. Song Yi, who was standing not too far away from Lin Fan, chuckled. Lin Fan, I'm going to be on guard against you, you have to be careful. As he spoke, he walked toward Lin Fan unhurriedly.
Whoosh.
However, before Song Yi could get close, Lin Fan's ball was like a gust of wind, quickly passing in front of him. The tall and strong man raised his brows and hurriedly stopped him. Lin Fan did not care at all, he feinted and dodged the ball. The tan man quickly gave up on number 3 and came to stop him. However, it was too late.
Swish.
Lin Fan made a two-step layup, and the ball entered the basket easily.
Score.
All right, number 1 and number 3 both shouted happily. Lin Fan, your skills aren't bad, Song Yi said in surprise. They're all right, Lin Fan smiled. The street basketball match continued. The tall and strong man kicked the ball off. He was tightly guarded by number 1 and had to pass it to Song Yi. Song Yi laughed, Lin Fan, you were really fast just now, come and see if you can steal my ball.
Smack.
When Lin Fan heard that, he raised his hand and smacked the basketball. The basketball landed in his hands. Song Yi was stunned. That was right. He said he would let Lin Fan try to snatch the ball from him, but he did not ask Lin Fan to be so fast. However, Lin Fan did not care so much. He turned around and quickly dribbled the ball, going for a layup.
Swish.
He scored again. Good shot, number 1 and number 3 shouted in excitement. Lin Fan, are you sure you haven't played basketball for a long time? Song Yi was stunned. Lin Fan nodded. Song Yi thought, if this is considered as not playing basketball for a long time, then what about my skills? Have I never played basketball before? After 2 consecutive goals, Song Yi, the tall and strong man, and the tanned man all looked anxious. So when the new game started, the 3 of them went straight to the basket. They had to get a goal in the shortest time possible. However, sometimes things always went against one's wishes.
Boom.
The basketball spun around the basket and rolled into it in the end. The big, tanned guy's expression changed slightly. He hurriedly jumped up trying to grab the rebound. However, his speed was already half a beat slower. Number 3 grabbed the basketball and threw it to Lin Fan. Lin Fan's strength had won him recognition. Number 3 wanted Lin Fan to lead the team and score another goal. However, number 3 seemed to be too excited and accidentally used too much force, causing the ball to deviate from its course. Even Lin Fan could not catch the basketball immediately. He could only let it fly out of the court. At that moment, girls in blue and red dresses walked over. They saw that the basketball was about to hit them, but it was too late to dodge. The 2 girls' pretty faces were slightly pale, and a thin layer of sweat seeped out. At this moment, a tall figure suddenly appeared in front of them and caught the basketball firmly. It was Lin Fan. Lin Fan turned his head and said, "Are you guys okay?" Bright and spirited eyes, a high nose bridge and thin lips. At this moment, the 2 girls seemed to see a peerless hero descending from the sky, and it was like he had rainbow clouds under his feet. They were completely dazed. Ding, charm aura, love at first sight triggered. Ding, charm aura, love at first sight triggered. When Lin Fan heard the notification in his mind, he was stunned. He could not help but carefully size up the 2 girls in front of him. Only then did he realize that apart from the color of their clothes, they looked almost exactly the same. They had the same porcelain doll-like face, the same snow-white skin, and the same perfectly developed body. They were actually twins. Lin Fan could not help but use his eyes of truth to observe the 2 of them. The girl in the blue dress. Face value 95. Favorability 99. The girl in the red dress. Face value 95. Favorability 99. Both of them had a score of 95 points for their looks, and their favorability had reached 99 points. One had to know that the full score for appearance and favorability was only 100 points. They were definitely great beauties. Moreover, they were twin beauties who loved him to death. They had fallen for him just because he helped them block the basketball. The beautiful twin girls saw that Lin Fan kept staring at them, and their faces turned red like ripe tomatoes. Lin Fan, are you all right? Song Yi asked. I'm fine, Lin Fan said. That's good, have some water first. As Song Yi spoke, he threw the energy drink over. Lin Fan was indeed feeling a little thirsty. He unscrewed the bottle and gulped down half a bottle. Then he threw the ball to Song Yi. The street basketball match began again. It was different from the previous game. At this moment, a pair of beautiful twins appeared on the empty basketball court. They stared at Lin Fan as he dribbled the ball, defended, and passed the ball. After Lin Fan scored, their two hearts started to beat wildly. Just as Lin Fan finished his last sip of the energy drink, the beautiful twins appeared in front of him, each holding a bottle of energy drink. "Are they for me?" Lin Fan asked. The beautiful twin girls nodded at the same time. Lin Fan did not stand on ceremony. He took the energy drinks, opened one of the bottles, and took a sip. A smile immediately appeared on the porcelain doll-like face of the beautiful woman in the blue dress, and a small canine tooth was vaguely visible in her cherry-like mouth. The beautiful woman in the red dress had a pair of gem-like eyes that were filled with anticipation. Lin Fan hesitated for a moment, then opened the second bottle of energy drink and took a sip. Instantly, the beauty in the red dress also revealed a sweet smile. In the distance, Song Yi looked at his empty bottle of energy drink and then at the two bottles in Lin Fan's hands. He could not help but gulp. The match continued. Lin Fan had professional basketball skills, an extraordinary physique, and absolute focus. He also had an endless supply of energy drinks. With so many advantages, how could he lose? The street basketball game lasted for more than 2 hours. In the end, Song Yi's team lost. Song Yi lay on the ground like a dead dog and said, "Lin Fan, are you sure you haven't played basketball in a long time?" "Yup," Lin Fan replied casually. When Song Yi heard this, a drop of hot sweat fell into his eyes. Instantly, turbid tears rolled down from the corner of his eyes. Lin Fan did not care much. He walked to the beautiful twins and said, "Thank you for the energy drinks." The beautiful twin girls shook their heads together, indicating that he was welcome. Then they took out their phones at the same time and looked at Lin Fan with anticipation. "Do you want to add me on WeChat?" Lin Fan asked. The beautiful twins nodded in unison. "All right," Lin Fan replied. As he spoke, he opened the WeChat friend request interface. Seeing this, the beautiful twins' gem-like eyes faintly bloomed with stars, and they hurriedly added him as a friend. Then, the two of them held their phone tightly in their arms as if they were holding a precious treasure and were afraid of losing it. "I'm going back to my dormitory. You guys should go back early too. It's pretty hot outside," Lin Fan said. The beautiful twin girls nodded their heads repeatedly.
Eh?
In the dormitory. After they returned, Zhang Jinbao looked at Lin Fan and Song Yi, who were covered in sweat. He smiled and asked, "Lin Fan, you haven't played basketball for a long time. How was it? You were abused badly this time, weren't you?" "Don't say those words again," Song Yi shouted. When he heard these words, he felt his heart being stabbed. "You don't know this, but as long as Lin Fan gets the ball, he'll be able to shoot it accurately. We played for more than 2 hours and my team only got 2 goals. Our team only scored 2 goals." Song Yi's movements were too big as he spoke. A drop of sweat on his forehead rolled into his eyes. Instantly, hot tears rolled down his face. Zhang Jinbao laughed and said, "Didn't you just play basketball? Why are you crying now?" "I'm not crying, Song Yi retorted. However, the tears in his eyes fell again. Zhang Jinbao looked at his comical appearance and laughed even louder. Song Yi felt wronged and said, "Why do I play basketball? It's just to attract girls. I play basketball in school almost every day, but none of the girls have ever asked me for my WeChat." At the end, when Lin Fan played basketball in school for the first time, a pair of twins actually took the initiative to buy drinks for him and ask for his WeChat. As soon as he said this, Zhang Jinbao's smile stopped as he hurriedly asked, "What, twins, are they pretty?" Fat otakus had no way to resist twins. Song Yi said, "Perfect figures and baby faces, you tell me if they're pretty."
Heavens!
Zhang Jinbao shouted to the sky, and the fat on his whole body trembled. He clutched his chest as if he had been stabbed. Lin Fan looked at the two of them and wanted to laugh.
Step.
At this moment, Mahjong slowly walked in with a few books in his arms. After he put down the book, he casually flipped through his phone. "There's actually a Lamborghini Aventador at our school," he exclaimed in surprise. "Lamborghini Aventador?" When Song Yi heard this, he immediately perked up and said excitedly, "Is it really a Lamborghini Aventador? Are you sure?" Song Yi loved cars, especially supercars. Lamborghini was also a top-tier noble among the supercars. It was no wonder he was so excited. Mahjong said someone posted a photo on Taiba. Hurry up and show me, Song Yi said impatiently. Zhang Jinbao also leaned his head over. It's really a Lamborghini Aventador, oh my god, Song Yi shouted in excitement. I wonder which godly tycoon it is. If I had this car I might be able to get the twins' attention, right? Zhang Jinbao said. Hey, there are photos of the tycoon below. Quick, let's see if he's as handsome as me. In the next moment, Song Yi, Zhang Jinbao and Ma Zhang's expressions all froze. That was because the photo of the godly tycoon was Lin Fan. Song Yi said, Lin Fan, the owner of the Lamborghini Aventador. It's mine, Lin Fan said with a smile. Heavens, are you thinking of killing me from the shock? Not only did you win the basketball match, but the twins also bought you drinks and asked for your WeChat. Now you even have the Lamborghini car that all men dream of. Lin Fan, if you don't let me call you Brother Fan, I'll kneel down in front of you right now, Song Yi shouted. Zhang Jinbao shouted, beauties and a sports car, my fragile heart has already been severely injured. Brother Fan, now only a big meal can soothe my injured heart. I told you guys yesterday that I would treat you guys to a big meal, but you insisted on going for a barbecue, Lin Fan said with a smile. Zhang Jinbao laughed awkwardly. Well, the barbecue was just to fill our stomachs, he said. Yesterday, Lin Fan had indeed said that he wanted to treat the three of them to a good meal. However, Zhang Jinbao was worried that Lin Fan would spend too much. That was why they insisted on eating at the barbecue stall. Lin Fan laughed. I happen to want to buy a car, why don't we do this? Let's go buy a car first, then we'll have a big meal together. Song Yi asked, don't you have a Lamborghini, why do you still want to buy a car? That car's, Lin Fan said, I need to buy a bigger car. What car do you want to buy? Song Yi asked again. Mercedes-Benz G-Class, Lin Fan said. I'm going to kneel in front of Brother Fan, Song Yi, Zhang Jinbao and Ma Zhang said in unison. There were only 2 seats in the Lamborghini, but there were 4 people in the dormitory. Therefore, Lin Fan chose to take a taxi to the Mercedes-Benz shop. This made Song Yi feel like a child who was walking past a toy store but was forcefully pulled away by an adult. His face was full of reluctance. He had wanted to use this opportunity to experience the awesome Lamborghini. It was only when Lin Fan said that he could let him drive his Lamborghini in the future that Song Yi immediately smiled. When Lin Fan and the rest walked into the well-decorated and luxurious Mercedes-Benz 4S shop, a salesperson immediately came up to them. As a top brand, the price of Mercedes-Benz was extremely high for ordinary people. However, the salesperson did not treat Lin Fan and the others with any disrespect just because they looked like students. Welcome to Mercedes-Benz, he said with a smile. Is there anything I can help you with? After Song Yi, Zhang Jinbao and Ma Zhang entered the 4S store, they looked around. Song Yi in particular ran directly to the front of a cool and grand Mercedes-Benz car and gently stroked it. This is the latest Mercedes-Benz E350, the salesperson introduced. It has 299 horsepower and its appearance is steady, but it doesn't lose out on its strength. It's very suitable for young people like you. Of course, if you don't have too many requirements for the horsepower, I recommend you to consider the E260. It looks exactly the same as the E350. The E260 has 184 horsepower, be it the acceleration or comfort. This model is also very good. The price-performance ratio is far higher than the E350. Most salespeople would love to let their customers buy expensive products. However, this salesperson took the initiative to analyze things clearly for the customer as if they were friends who had known each other for a long time. Song Yi touched the back of his head in embarrassment and said, I'm sorry I've wasted your time, I'm just looking around, he's the one who's here to buy a car. As he spoke, he pointed at Lin Fan. The salesperson was not annoyed at all and said, it's not a waste of time. Now that you know about our Mercedes-Benz cars, you might just come and buy one in the future. Then he smiled at Lin Fan and asked, Fo, you have a car that you like, I can introduce it to you. G-Class, Lin Fan replied. We happen to have a new car, this way please, the salesperson said. Soon they arrived at the other side of the 4S store. At that moment, a black G-Class which looked like a beast was parked in the middle. Whoa, it's so awesome. This is the car that a true man should drive. Song Yi, Zheng Jinbao, and Ma Zhang were all amazed. They had seen photos of G-class vehicles in magazines and computers, and they also thought that they were very cool. However, after seeing one for themselves, they were still stunned. The salesperson said, "This is a Mercedes-Benz G500 V8-4. It has a maximum power of 421 horsepower and a maximum torque of 610. With the addition of a mature 9-AT transmission, who can imagine that such a big guy can complete an acceleration of 100 kilometers in 5.9 seconds?" The salesperson sighed. Lin Fan said, "Is it spacious?" "It's very spacious, not to mention in the same class, even in an SUV that's one class higher, there are few that can be a match for it." "All right, I'll get this then," Lin Fan nodded. After saying that, Lin Fan took out his bank card. Seeing this, the salesperson was startled. The salesperson could not help but be stunned. What was going on? "I don't think I've introduced myself yet, right? And he didn't mention the price, did he? He's going to buy it just like that. Don't you want to discuss the price? Aren't we going to discuss the free items?" After a long time, the salesperson finally reacted and said, "I forgot to tell you that this is the G500 Dark Knight Special Edition. On top of the basic G500 model, there's a sports suit, many beam lights, and an adaptive near-far beam. It's 230,000 yuan more expensive than the normal G500. If you're willing to wait for a few days, we'll get a normal version very soon." Lin Fan waved his hand. "No need, I'll take this one." All right, the salesperson replied. "This car, including insurance, purchase tax, and other expenses, comes to a total of 2.18 million. Would you like to pay in installments or in full?" "The full amount," Lin Fan said. "When can I take the car away?" The sales assistant said, "Tomorrow morning you can come with us to the vehicle administration office to get a license plate." Lin Fan thought for a moment. "How about this? I'll give you 2.2 million, you help me get the plate and then send the car to my school. How about it?" It was already very troublesome to buy a car. Lin Fan did not want to run around again. The salesperson was slightly taken aback, and then he excitedly said, "All right, leave it to me." One had to know that this car only cost 2.18 million. Now the other party was offering to give him 2.2 million. In other words, he could get a tip of 200,000 yuan just by running an errand. Happiness came too suddenly. Beep. The bank card swiped gently on the POS machine, making a pleasant sound. When this sound rang out, Song Yi, Zheng Jinbao, and Ma Zhang all came back to their senses. A car. He bought a Mercedes-Benz G-Class worth more than 2 million yuan just like that. Had it been 3 minutes from entering the shop to paying. Even if one were to buy clothes that cost 100 yuan, it would not be that fast, right? The three of them looked at Lin Fan with a look of admiration. "God, Lin Fan." Songyi let out a deep sigh, his face full of hesitation. "Songyi, what's wrong?" Lin Fan asked. "I just wanted to say that I could have run that errand too," Songyi said. He was not spouting nonsense. He had always liked cars. He used to work in a 4S shop during the summer break. Getting a car plate number was not difficult for him at all. Lin Fan smiled. "How can I let you do such a small thing? You have the potential to do great things in the future." Small thing. If he could get 200,000 yuan just by applying for a license plate once, then. Song Yi expressed that he wanted to do such small things for the rest of his life. After that, Lin Fan got into his car as the salesperson respectfully sent him off. Soon they arrived at Pinglai Seafood Restaurant. Pinglai Seafood Restaurant was a famous seafood restaurant in Jiangbei. The entire restaurant was shaped like a huge octopus. The air in the shop was filled with the salty fragrance of the sea. Ma Zhang pointed at the crab not far away and said, "What a huge crab. It's obviously waiting for us to eat it." Zheng Jinbao swallowed his saliva. "All right, then I'll have 4 crabs, 4 Australian lobsters, 4 pounds of mantis shrimp, and 4 pounds of giant oysters. As for the cooking method, you can do it however you like as long as the food tastes good," Lin Fan said. Even though Lin Fan had only spent 2 days with his roommates, it was fate that they met. Furthermore, Lin Fan could feel that they were decent people. Therefore, he was willing to treat them to some good food. Of course, this was nothing much to Lin Fan. The waiter at the side noted down the orders one by one. Then Lin Fan and the others were arranged to sit in a spacious private room. The chefs at Pinglai's seafood restaurant did things very efficiently. In just 10 minutes, a seafood feast with good color, smell, and taste was served. Zheng Jinbao, Song Yi, and Ma Zhang looked at the delicious food and could not help but swallow their saliva. "Let's eat," Lin Fan said with a smile. "We won't be polite then," the three of them chuckled. As he spoke, Zheng Jinbao directly stuffed a giant oyster into his mouth and praised it, delicious. Song Yi picked up a palm-sized mantis shrimp and turned on his phone. "Friends from WeChat, hello, I'm going to do an eating show for everyone now. I'll eat this mantis shrimp in one bite. Please remember to like my post." After saying that, he quickly removed the shell of the palm-sized mantis shrimp and stuffed it into his mouth. Mahjong picked up the plate filled with crabs and gnawed on them.
Eh?
Jiangbei University, dorm 502 of the female dormitory. The beautiful twins were lying on the bed holding their phones. They looked at each other and then opened their phones to send messages. "Red Mom, you there? Blue Mom, you there? Beautiful Yan, how many times have I told you, you have to call me sister? Red and Blue, we have a boy we like. Beautiful Yan, there's a boy you like. Did he kiss you? Did he sleep with you? Don't tell me you already have a baby. Red and Blue, if you keep talking like this, we won't tell you anything else. Beautiful Yan, all right, tell me quickly, who is it that has attracted my two younger sisters?" There was no need for the beautiful twins to explain. Their mother already knew that the two of them definitely liked the same person. That was because they had the same hobbies since they were young. Red and Blue, we don't know who he is either. Beautiful Yan, then how did you guys fall for him? Red, he's tall, handsome, and a hero. Blue, also he can play basketball, he saved us. Beautiful Yan, basketball, very tall, very handsome, he does sound attractive. By the way, did he confess to you guys? Red, I still don't know if he likes me or not. Blue, but we added him on WeChat. Beautiful Yan, then there's definitely no problem. Oh right, give me his WeChat username. However, after a long time, no one replied. Beautiful Yan, hey, where are you guys? What about his WeChat username? The twin beauties did not even care about her. They were staring at Lin Fan's chat box. After a long time, they opened the dialog box and quickly typed a message. Red, hey, are you asleep? Thank you for stopping the basketball and saving me. Blue, hi, are you asleep? Thank you for stopping the basketball and saving me. The two of them wrote a long paragraph of words, but when their slender fingers were getting closer and closer to the send button, they could not press it no matter what. It was as if there was an invisible wall between their fingers and the screen.
Eh?
The female dormitory, dorm 606. Sitting by the window, a beautiful girl in a white dress was reading an economics book seriously.
Back.